inside an Airbnb in Nairobi's South B area. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin there, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive that. Sweating is biblical. Good. And he must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, "Now you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat."
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. Yeah. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person, or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who is a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
windows
sleep inside.
Up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, let me tell you what's happening on the roads very quickly. Early Monday morning, the roads are already getting busy. Ngong Road is getting busy. Westlands into town is also getting busy. As also is Jogoo Road coming into town, but not as bad as you'd expect to be looking like later in the day. If you're heading into town, but if there's anything that you think we ought to talk about and remind people about, let us know. As you head towards Nyayo Stadium roundabout from Langata Road or from Lusaka Road, please be careful. There's some traffic in there heading into Nyayo Stadium roundabout. We don't know why, but we'll find out soon. Also, the usual issues on Haile Selassie Avenue are still happening and going on. We'll find out more later.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and how are you doing? It's halfway through the month of January 2024. That means today is the 30th of Jan. We have 30 more days to go. How are you doing? How's your weekend? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room. Ndu is away today. She is doing one or two things, family matters, and then she'll be joining us tomorrow, hopefully, God willing. Hoping you had a lovely weekend. It's Eric, and CT will be joining in shortly. He's around. You know what he has to do? He has to do the usual round of passing by everybody and saying good morning and how was your weekend? Did you enjoy your weekend? And then now he'll come and tell us how his weekend was. Yeah. Yes, those are the things that we are expecting to do. So let me tell you what we'll be discussing today. First of all, it's the 15th. From midnight, the price of super petrol, for diesel, for kerosene has come down. Phew. At least, even if it's a bob, but it's 5. So it's a good thing. It's come down. For the next 30 days, it's going to be like this until the 14th of February. Then we will hear the Valentine's gift that we shall receive from April, if it's going to be a gift at all, or if not, we will know. Edna, do like that so that I can do like that as well and tell everybody what we'll be discussing. I'll tell you though, at 7 o'clock, we'll be having a conversation about power, electricity, and pricing and electricity. You've seen some recent conversations about power prices going in, going up, going down, whatever. What's going to happen is our cost of power going up, of course, because April has had to adjust because of adjustments because of Forex. Now that has an impact. We'll be joined by Bwanandereba, who will be coming here to tell us everything that we'll be discussing about. Has Kenya Power hiked the cost of electricity? And if so, why? Why have they done this? That's a conversation we'll be having at that particular time. And then at 8 o'clock, we'll be joined by the party leader of the Democratic Action Party of Kenya. Do you know that party? Democratic Action Party of Kenya. It's called DAPK. DAPK's party leader is one Eugene Wamalwa. He's a former cabinet secretary. He'll be joining us at 8 o'clock to talk about the attacks on the judiciary, the National Dialogue Committee, of which he was a member, telling us also about Azimio and the plans that they have. Also just looking at the state of our politics and governance as a country and what was happening all along. Edna, huyu mzee ako wapi? Amesahau kazi. Ni kama amesahau kazi. So Eugene Wamalwa joins us at what time? At 8 a.m. These and more conversations will be coming in, so make sure that you are tuned in throughout. Mzee comes in, Mzee sits down. Mzee, good morning.
Good morning sana mzee mwenzangu.
Mambo namna gani?
Mambo ni mazuri.
Wewe
waendeleaje bwana?
Mimi niko poa bwana.
Asante bwana. Baridi waionaje?
Ai bwana, mimi imenipita hii baridi.
Umekupita? Ai. Wacha nikuulize swali ambao Wakenya hujiuliza, hali yako?
Hali iko fit kabisa. Yeah, yes.
Mambo yote ni maridadi.
I'm thankful.
You're thankful.
Yes.
Thankful to God.
I thank God. I thank God. Mambo vile iko so far. We just say ni sawa.
Sio yote ni maendeleo.
Yote ni maendeleo.
Yes.
Tunashukuru Mungu. In
everything give thanks.
In everything you give thanks. You say it's okay.
It's okay.
Accept
and move on.
Move on.
Yeah, that's the one thing I have never been able to get my head around. Accept, move on, and the same sentence as though it's some sacred. Accept, yeah, move on, perhaps, but accept and move on. Nah.
Which one do you want to do? You want to move on without accepting, or do you want to accept without moving on?
I want to understand first.
Huh?
and to begin by understanding. Once I understand, the two become easy.
Then you'll accept.
Yes, I can accept to move or not to move because I have an option to move on or refuse to move on. But I've understood. If I haven't understood, then the two don't make very much sense to me. Yes.
Okay. Maybe that journey is where you'll find understanding. You accept that this has happened. Okay, it has happened. Okay? So now, can I move on? As I move on, I'll be evaluating what exactly happened.
Your point is a valid one.
Or there will be more revelations of what exactly happened.
Your point is extremely valid. But I'd rather start with why did it happen?
You'll get stuck on that.
No, I won't get stuck, actually. You see,
why did it happen?
Yeah, why?
It happened.
Yeah, that you accept it has happened. Then you go to the why. The why is now what brings understanding.
Yes. And I think that's part of the moving on.
So you move on, and in the process, you'll understand the why.
Yes.
So it's experiential. Okay, I'm still stuck.
Accept, don't live in denial. Once you accept, then now you are free to do everything else. You are free to start understanding why did it happen. It's because you've accepted that it happened. If you don't accept that it happened, you can't start asking that question of why it happened. Because in your mind, it has not happened.
When I look at it from those lenses, it makes perfect sense.
I know
it makes sense. It makes sense because you start from a point of knowledge, accepting it has happened.
Yes.
So there's no debate about it. Then let's see what next.
Then now you start asking, why did it happen?
Yes.
Okay, let's take this quick break at 16 after 6. Are you online? Because we are live streaming the show, Kawaida. If you are, let's know where you tuned in from on YouTube or on Facebook. We'll be doing the usual shout out shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
With politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things right. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The weather
it's pretty
with
cold in
SpiceFM.
Nairobi. It's 17 degrees presently. It's going to rise to 24 later. Kakamega 18 currently. It's going to hit highs of 27. Mombasa mostly clear skies, highs of 33 later today. Malindi, where is Malindi on this? 27 currently, highs of 32 later today. Nakuru 16 currently with highs of 25 expected. Nyeri currently at 15, highs of 25 expected. Mogadishu, highs of 25 currently, highs of 33 expected. Addis Ababa, highs of 24 later expected. A partly cloudy day. Lagos also mostly clear skies at 34 today. Mostly clear in Johannesburg, currently at 17. It's going to rise to 29 later. Kinshasa, mostly cloudy, highs of 31 expected. Kampala is mostly cloudy with highs of 27 expected. Now, let's go to Europe. Paris, -1 degrees centigrade. It'll be very warm later today at 5 degrees. London, currently 1 degree, highs of 4 later. New York is currently clear at -2, highs of 7. And in Beijing, currently at -1 and highs of 3.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Already up and about online. Many.
And they are up and abouting online.
Online. Don Sabo, for example, says, okay. Good morning. Oh no, even the dead sat for KCSE. The results are released. The dead in Malawi, we say, Akufa. City, say, Akufa.
Very good. Yes.
And that is the dead. That is according to Don Sabwa. Davis Weed says, good morning, Eric City and Ndu. Very glad to be finally tuned in from home. Salamia Edna Barias Bowie. Kabala Oyugi says, good morning and Happy New Year. Agri Momanyi, good morning, Spice. I want to wish all Form 1s all the best as they start their secondary school academic journey. Sabit Yusuf says, good morning from a chilly Dubai. Wishing you a great week ahead. Hey, just a thought, please add a Middle Eastern city in the daily weather forecast update. Sawa. We will add the chilly Dubai. Jarek Josegi says, good morning and Happy New Year. Watching you from my sick bed where I'm admitted. Oh, Paul Sana. Paul Sana Josegi, wish you quick recovery. Zach, hello, Spice family tuned in from Minnesota. It's chilly, minus 23 degrees Celsius, I presume. It says centigrade. But boss, it is minus 23 in Minnesota. What?
Yeah, that is cold. It doesn't matter how you look at it. It is cold. You're breathing, you're coming sauna.
Good morning from Shadrach Idoi, tuned in from Wehoko. Kenneth Bushnell says, good morning, Odao. Kuna this housing thing ya Ruto, itakuwa kama the 1MDB scandal that happened in Malaysia. Wacha tuone. Dismas Mbuya says, happy new week, tuned in from Nairobi. Toti Bishop Wood Nam is tuned in from Otonglo. What is Otonglo?
It's a place.
It's a place called Otonglo?
Yes, in the outskirts of Kisumu.
So Woodnam is there. Of the lake, son of the lake.
Son of the lake, yes.
Very good. Toti Bishop. Lord Soy's Miracle Monday from Shadrach, the only Lord of Dukes in Kenya. From Wehoko. Oliver Tambo, I had an idea of sending Ruto home before 2027. Bila Mandamano. Connect me to Senator Okio Mtata. Okay. You can get him online. He's actually very active on Twitter. Eddie Odwar, good morning. It has been a very rainy weekend full of slaps, blows and kicks administered by our dishonorable MP Salasia. This is the latest classic show of power gone in the wrong head. What? Did you see that? Those clips?
Which one?
Of the MP Salasia. He was at a funeral.
Where he slapped an MCA?
Yeah. And there was an MCA who, came towards where his hand was heading.
Yes, they collided with the hand.
Yeah,
the hand was going one direction and this guy decided to also head in the same direction.
To interrupt the journey of the hand.
And it appeared like a slap.
Oliver Ogesh, good morning from Kakamega. George Mutoro, Kisii Town, tuned in. Wawero Karaoke, minus 34 in Calgary. Oh my goodness. Minus 34.
That one is beyond cold, isn't it?
Surely. Paul J here listening in from Toronto, Canada. It's minus 12 degrees, heading to minus 14 by midnight. Good Lord. Hey.
How cold must that be?
Hey. I'm sure minus 12, but I'm sure they must be saying it's minus 12, but feels like minus 18. Those kind of things. Then now you can tell me if it's minus 12 in Toronto, Calgary is minus 34. Inspiring music is tuned in from Chengdu, China. And good morning, watching from Palm Resort, Nyali, Mombasa. That's MCA James Kimanzi. Everybody who's tuned in, Karibuni Sana, thank you for waking up early to tune in to Kenya's biggest conversation. CT?
Yes, please.
Where this week's proverbs going to come from?
We is in Nigeria.
Nigeria?
Yes, we is in Nigeria. Whose capital is Abuja, whose largest city is Lagos. I thought, when you're looking at a country that has
the president lives under the rock.
The president is, that's that very geographical location that you mentioned is where he is. We'll be telling you many, many stories about Nigeria. The communities, the independence, the constitution, when it became a republic, all those things. But for today, we'll leave you with the capital, which is Abuja, and the largest city, which is
Lagos.
I will also tell you that it has 525 regional languages, just so that you can think.
525
regional languages.
Okay.
So, if you think it is Kiswahili and who and what, here
525.
525. But when you consider that you are talking about a population of 231 million, those are many people, sir. Yes. So we will also be going into Pidgin and then translating that into English and then asking our leaders how it is they understand this.
When Du comes tomorrow, she'll enjoy this one.
Yes. This one she will enjoy. But for today, we'll just go with the English.
Okay,
when
please.
Du comes, then we will go with the Pidgin.
It.
Yes. A one-legged man is seldom thankful to God until he sees a crippled person.
A one-legged man is seldom thankful to God
until he sees
a
crippled person.
A crippled person.
Yeah.
So he notices, haya.
Kwani, I'm not doing that badly.
Shida zangu sio mingi.
Yaani shida yangu ni moja tu. Huyu jamaa ako na shida nyingi.
Ako na shida mingi kuniliko.
Yes.
We'll hear the interpretations from Ndereba and Eugene Omalwa later. Okay, the headlines. In the Standard, you have the Star, right?
I have the Star.
And you have the East African, do you?
Oh, of course I have the East African.
Very good. As you get them, let me tell you what's in the Standard this morning. The big headline in the Standard: pressure mounts as schools admit 1.4 million Form 1s. Whereas parents are protesting the high cost of taking their children to secondary schools, teachers are burning the midnight oil, wondering how they'll accommodate the learners in institutions whose facilities are already bursting at the seams and with little funding. Imagine, 1.4 million children are set to join Form 1 today. 100% transition. That's what they expect. And they have a photo here of Isaac Kusa being assisted by his mother Elizabeth Awor to board a bus at Mwembe Tayari in Mombasa to join Mbita High School in Homa Bay County. Boy is leaving Mwembe Tayari. He's going to Mbita High School in Homa Bay. 3.8 million learners.
That's far.
That's far, sindio?
Hey, that's far.
Mengia basi aende.
Yo ni mbali.
3.8 million learners, rising number of learners in secondary schools. The Form 1 admission is expected to push the population of learners to almost 4 million. Yeah, 1 million per class. Higher. Other headline: Raila rails at church leaders for going to bed with government. Raila has criticized the church over claims that they have abandoned Kenyans and told prelates to speak the truth to power as Kenyans are hurting due to the high cost of living. Business headline in the Standard today: farmers sell 24 billion shillings worth of coffee at city auction. Wow. Currently, the NCE, that's the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, is accommodating an average of 20,000 bags of coffee weekly. According to their report, farmers in the past year received more than 24 billion from the sale of their produce. And security agencies are saying that Violet Kemunto, who lives in a life of squalor in Jilib, Somalia, where she fled to before the attack, she had taken part in planning. She spends her time as a language teacher linked to Al-Shabaab. This is a planner of one of the planners of the Dusit D2 attack, paying a heavy price. This woman was married to one of the attackers who ended up being killed in the attack, but the woman had already taken off before this. Of course, there is that very, very gory story of what happened yesterday, Airbnb murders. Police yet to find the suspect in the death of a woman, 24-year-old woman. We'll look at that story in greater detail. Let me tell you what else. Well, as we talk about Form 1 selection, let's also remember delays in CDF money means delays in disbursement of bursaries, and it affects bursaries. Headline in the Daily Nation today: schools taken to court over debt. Just a week after schools reopened, suppliers have dragged institutions that owe them money to court, even as principals asked the government to release unremitted billions of shillings under the free day secondary education. Why?
Ngumu.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Ruto and Museveni to meet over oil dispute. Leaders seek to amend fences. according to Malonza, the Cabinet Secretary for East African and Regional Development. Petrol diesel prices fall by 5 shillings a litre. Super Eagles wings clipped by Equatorial Guinea. This is looking at the start of the Africa Cup of Nations. A draw in Equatorial Guinea with Japan, with a draw with Equatorial Guinea in Abidjan is not a positive one for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Another woman killed, dismembered by quote-unquote lover in City House. We'll look at that story in detail. At the back page of this is looking at the sports, and that's where the Super Eagles story is. Tell us about the Star.
Top right-hand corner in teal green.
Yes.
Petition filed. Fresh bid to scuttle sale of parastatals. This is a story on page 8 of the Star.
Enemies of development strike again.
They strike again. And while you're at it, please do not forget the state of the judiciary and any unpalatable adjective you may want to add to that entire conversation.
Yeah.
There's that little detail. Then, as we look further into the paper, we find that immature avocados picked too soon and smuggled out of Kenya. Okay? Immature. They are not grown up enough. All right? Then corruption in courts. Ruto allies intensify war on judiciary as Gachagua pledges to file petition. Okay? Yes. This is all right. This is good. We are testing our judicial system and we're testing our freedom. This is good. House team approves 1 million fine for sending false disaster alarm. This one I have to read. A House team has approved a proposal law setting Kenya shillings 1 million fine for persons found guilty of causing panic by sending a false alarm about an emergency or a warning about a disaster. The proposed law also imposes a 10 million shilling fine for persons found to be guilty of pilfering relief food and rations.
Okay.
Yes.
How much for pilfering?
10 million. False alarm 1 million. So if you pilfer and you send false alarm 11 million. Yes. So you just choose the one you want to do, don't combine.
Aye.
Okay.
Is the false alarm an issue though? I don't know.
Look at it this way.
Maybe it's just forestalling it.
Okay. Let's go with our early morning discussion about accepting and moving on. See, here I'm asking why. Okay. Why are we suddenly being saddled with these laws? Well, why is it suddenly? People have been pilfering relief food for the longest time. And so this 10 million shillings is, the fine is supposed to be a deterrent. These things are never deterrent.
What law is this? Why do we actually need this law? Pilfering is theft, isn't it?
Thank you. You've actually understood where I'm getting at. And why are we saying false alarm? How do you determine it's a false alarm or not?
Well, once you arrive at the scene and you find somebody has a fire.
Yes.
You deploy resources, you go to that place and you find there was absolutely no fire. In fact, even the neighbors there have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. How often does this happen?
That's the issue.
How often?
I don't know.
Why? We are suddenly going to be pulled into this debate about relief food. Mechanisms for ensuring relief food isn't stolen. Do you hear of it? No, you don't hear of it. Suddenly there's a fine. Fines are not deterrents. Not in this country.
The person who would be pilfering relief food would be a public officer.
How else would he get hold of relief food if he wasn't in a position to? Yes.
So if a public officer pilfers relief food, then there are mechanisms. There's abuse of office, there's all those things.
The moment you set a 10 million shilling fine, what you've done, you've given this person more negotiating room.
And I think just creating another law and another law and another law just complicates the matter. Because you don't know under what law are you being charged in court.
That's the purpose, if you ask me.
Just to confuse the issue.
Yeah, just create very many laws so that one says, no, it's not this law, it's this other law. No, it's this law. No, look, I think it is this law. Anyway. Bang in the middle of the paper, funds. ODM will now receive 127 million, while Kenya Kwanza receives 577 million. Ruto Raila parties lose 900 million in budget cut. Register of political parties says slash necessitated by reduction in funding. Okay? Makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Then there's little football here. Cote d'Ivoire hosts putting up opening ceremony full of rhythm and light. Yes. 34th edition of Africa Cup of Nations. This tournament usually is full of pomp and fun and some delightful football. Yes. So we look forward to seeing more and more of it. Can I go to these East African?
Yes,
if I may.
Yes.
Well, East African, in the small headlines magazine, Africa heroic women soldiers at the front line of peacekeeping. Money exploring new regional markets. East African investors look to Somalia DRC for expansion. Under markets, lenders laugh all the way to the bank. Bank stocks rise, riding on dividends and earnings. Outlook. Year in review 2024 in forecast. 2023 fintech hits and how they look this year. Opinion. Useful. Madness block can borrow. Obo on lessons to take from Argentina's madman. All right, then. Season of anomie. Now, this is an interesting headline. Bang in the middle of the paper. Okay. Things are falling apart in East Africa. Burundi shuts its border with Rwanda in spat over rebel attacks, just as Punde Sipunde, DRC did over M23. Meanwhile, Somali beats drums of war in Port Row with Addis as Kenya and Uganda square off at regional court over oil imports on page 5. This is East Africa for you. Birth pangs everywhere. And quoted here, the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, this unfortunate decision will restrict free circulation of people and goods and violate the principles of regional cooperation. Thus, the Burundian president, Evariste, says these armed groups have been provided with shelter, food, offices and money from the country that hosts them. I mean Rwanda. Okay, so out in the open. Out in the open. Okay, so now pain of providing cheap healthcare. East Africa governments are grappling with great odds to deliver health services for all. Are they really grappling? Right. Ooh.
Like that?
That's me taking a breath.
Okay.
Yes.
We take a break?
Break is good.
Okay. Oh, no. There's the Business Daily. The headline in the Business Daily today is State House upgrade to cost taxpayers 795 million shillings by June. For the next 5 months or so, we're going to spend 795 million shillings to refurbish this building that's how old? 119 years old. 117 years.
Has it not refurbished in the past?
They say it hasn't. Or maybe it's just been getting small refurbishments. But the 795 is not just for State House Nairobi. It is
all
for
State
House and state lodges.
These are things that should be done periodically. Yes. So I will not comment on that one. If they feel there is need to refurbish them, you can't have a situation where you have visitors, then the roof just falls on people. Yes, so you reorganize it.
Sort it out.
Sort it out.
Let's take a look at traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's not looking so bad wherever we are right now. We're just seeing the situation across the country. So Nairobi, first of all, that's where we are. So we're looking at Thika Superhighway. It's only getting busy around the Muthaiga Square roundabout. Muthaiga Square Junction, everything else is looking okay. Kiambu Road is moving into town smoothly. So far, so good. It's also looking okay on Jogoo Road heading into town. Haile Selassie gets very busy. We had an issue earlier along Nyayo Stadium roundabout and Lusaka Road, but it's also looking to have cleared. Basically, what we are saying so far is that it's busy where it normally gets busy, but it's not extremely busy where it normally gets extremely busy yet. Let's see how the situation will be looking like in about 20 minutes or so.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Today. Okay? As part of the reason why Ndu is not here with us today is because she's taking a child to join Form 1. You know that whole excitement.
Man, it's a lot of excitement.
There's a whole excitement in a family when a child is joining Form 1.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, before you know it, they'll have finished.
Yeah.
That's, you blink.
You blink like this and KCSE.
When did the years go by?
Oh, yes.
God almighty. Yes.
Now, whereas parents are protesting the high cost of taking their children to school, teachers are also in serious issues. The Standard has a story today about what's happening. Parents were on Sunday grappling with exorbitant costs of items and levies as they prepare to take Form 1 students to their respective secondary schools. A spot check conducted by the Standard yesterday revealed that most parents were in last-minute rush preparations ahead of the admission. Unlike other Sundays when most shops and book outlets would remain shut, yesterday, busy. Okay? However, as that is happening, secondary schools could be headed for financial crises as they open doors to 1.4 million learners joining Form 1. 1.2 million learners will also be joining junior secondary as they transit from primary school under CBC. Principals have spoken to the Standard indicating that they have not received the funds by the close of business on Friday, despite assurance from the ministry when schools reopened. Remember, this actually was an announcement made by the government last year, that money had been released by the National Treasury for primary, for junior secondary, for day, it's called what?
Secondary.
Day secondary schools, right? Now, all these heads are saying they haven't received money. And even those that are in the boarding schools, they also haven't received money. Belio Kipsang had said on Monday during the release of KCSE results that we want to assure our schools that the funds have been released. It's a process because of systems. The funds will be in their accounts by Wednesday or Friday latest. Friday arrived and it was not latest. Money had not hit their accounts.
That's the whole point. That's why it said latest.
You should have said Friday at the earliest. The ministry in early January had indicated that 31 billion had been set aside for capitation for schools. Out of the total funds, 4 billion will go towards free primary, 7.6 being for capitation for junior secondary, 2.8 billion meant for school exams and invigilation, while 16 billion shillings has been factored in for free day secondary schools. But the secondary school heads are saying, oh my goodness, hii pesa bado haijafika. Why do we always do these things? I mean, it's the Ministry of Education is the one that sets the calendar for everything.
Yeah.
You know the opening dates, you know the days that Form 1s are coming, you know everything. Why would you be releasing money in the first week of January, knowing that schools are opening on the second week of Why?
Because there's no money.
Sasa hapo ndio shida. And then now you say it's a system issue. Why would it take so long? I mean, if it's all automated, why would it take weeks for money to hit people's accounts?
No, I think if Miss and Nemes had not agreed,
those things
had not agreed, you know, that's what you call system. You know, you want to pay, and then you actually set the thing in motion. Then something happens. It's called there's no money, so it can't send air. Well, it can actually. That's what it's been doing.
So let's assume that indeed, when the National Treasury said that it had released money in December, it had released the money to the ministry. Okay? So from the ministry accounts, distributing to the various individual schools, right? Why would it take so long? You have the list of the schools, you have the account details. You know the amount because you know the number of learners per school, and that's the job that you do.
There's no money.
No, we are saying the money has been released from the National Treasury. That's what they've assured. We have received the money.
You know,
this system thing that Belio Kipsang was saying, it's a system issue. It'll take long. So by Wednesday, maybe Friday, that's when you'll be receiving. Why?
When you're trying to manage a situation where there is no money, let me go back to that particular story again. You look for stories that may be plausible. Unfortunately, if you repeat them often enough, we now stop looking at them as stories, we look at them as lies. Okay? Because this story didn't start today. It didn't start last week. It didn't start last year. We've been hearing this for quite some time. And that's why we keep talking about 47% tile, 49% of not. All these delays in this being paid, it is the same thing we've been talking about. And it is clear that there isn't enough money. Forget the systems issue. There simply isn't enough money to pay these things. And one doesn't want to come out and say, folks, we don't have enough money to pay. Because it isn't one story. No. Right now, the headline is the story about schools because it's an exciting time for parents whose children are going to school. It's an agonizing, painful time for parents whose children didn't do well and they're wondering what to do next. It's a tumultuous time. But when you look at other things that happened with regards to money in this country, delayed salaries here, delayed payments here, pending bills here, it's the same story because it all revolves around money, and it's money that the government should fork out. Okay? When you hear of discussions about, well, you know, we have a problem, we have debts we need to pay, and there's all this discussion, again, it's money. We're talking about money. So the question that needs to be asked is, do we have money or don't we? If we don't, then what we have, what are we doing about it and how are we managing it? Because there is some money. How are we going about managing this money that we have? This discussion, you and Du have said this for the last 3 years. Is it possible for people who are in leadership to just speak the truth?
Just come out clearly and
say it.
So
and then let us deal with it. Say it and say this is it. Then we say, okay, this is where we are. What do we do next? Because this story of Bellios, then the next thing you're going to hear, money has been released. That's what you'll hear.
Yep.
And then you'll do a little check and you'll be told by the schools, if they've released them, that may be good and well, but we haven't received it. Say, okay, maybe you haven't. Let's ask other people. And then you suddenly find very many people haven't received the money. So you say, but why are you saying you've sent it to schools and they haven't received it? And we know that thing doesn't take a week.
Imagine.
Doesn't even take a day. You release it, they receive it. This problem, the government has to face it head on. There's no more skirting around it.
They have to come out and just basically just say, this is the situation and this is how we are dealing with it.
Yes. Because
if we have a cash crunch, sawa.
We have it.
Jogona Ndongo says we have a cash crunch. Okay. And then the ministry should all say, but for me, I'm assuming these figures that we've just read here, the money has been made available.
What does that mean?
Okay. That there is money, that it has been transferred from the National Treasury to the Ministry of Education. If it has not, then let them say it has not. But if they say it has, then there is no plausible explanation to me why the money has not arrived in the accounts of the various schools. For me,
you know, this can't be a problem because this process we're talking about has been the norm since antiquity. And that's how schools receive money. Even before we digitalized, schools used to receive money. It would be a check. There was a system. So why is it suddenly that in the past when you were told money has been sent, the schools would receive the money? And we knew they would receive it because when you asked, they would tell you they've received it. So this sending that we are speaking of now, what is the nature of this sending that makes it possible for money to be sent and it's not received? How? That money isn't there. The sending is a conversation, and that's why the receipt is non-existent. You can't receive something which was not sent.
Meanwhile, suppliers have been taking various supplies to schools and they haven't been paid.
And now what have they done?
Now they've filed lawsuits over billions owed to them. Management committees and headmasters are now fighting the situation in court, warning that learning in many schools could grind to a halt if the situation is not resolved. In addition to this, the money owed by the government, parents are also owe schools billions of shillings in school fees arrears. Imagine.
It's not a pretty picture.
Being a school head is just...
It's a nightmare. But you consider for a single second, look at the effects of all this. A supply is also a parent. Has responsibilities. You do not pay them. They also have people that get goods and supplies from, and they have not paid. Look at that vicious cycle that's actually beginning to form. So if money doesn't flow from the government, there's a chain of people, a whole list of people down that chain who will not be able to have money. And if they don't have money, then all these economic activities that we talk about, the one which create wealth and the one which create an opportunity for the government to raise money through taxes, you're actually grinding it to a halt. When government releases money, those activities are hastened. And everything that's supposed to happen happens. When the money isn't there, all these things grind to a halt. And here's where we are.
There's a case here, for example, in September last year, Joaka Food Stores accused Kangonya Secondary School's Board of Management of failing to pay 794,000 shillings after it supplied food to the institution between August 2022 and October last year. The debt, according to court record, has since accrued interest and has risen to 1.17 million shillings.
Oh dear.
A court order shows the case was settled by consent after the school agreed to pay the debt in installments of 500,000, 345,000, 271,000 and 250,000 by June 30th next year. So this food stores, it supplied food 794,000 worth, but it has to wait for its money until June next year. That's when it will be. It will receive its final installment.
How are they supposed to function?
You tell me.
How are they supposed to function exactly?
You tell me.
And all because the government did not release the money that they said they had released. So pending bills is a story all on its own. We think of pending bills in relation to county governments. But it's pending bills at the national level. It's pending bills in almost every department and every ministry of government. Somebody who's done business will be experiencing the pains of these bills that haven't been paid.
It is really... Tell us another story.
All right. I'm going to look at something which is a little perhaps... I want to look at the pain of providing cheap healthcare. This is the story in the East African. Yeah. The headline is East Africa Universal Healthcare Drive hits bumpy patch as governments push insurance schemes. Okay, between January and December 2023, out of 67 audited hospitals, 27 were found to be involved in fraudulent activities, resulting in the loss of 171 million. This according to Susan Nahumicia, Health Cabinet Secretary of Kenya. Okay. Officials in the region are grappling with funding gaps in their strategies to roll out the universal health coverage programs that guarantee citizens easy access to quality medical health care services. Okay? Let me talk figures. 357 million US dollars or 57 billion Kenyan shillings. That's the amount Kenyans are expected to remit to the Social Health Insurance Fund through its 2.7% pay deduction. All right? Now, those are just figures. But this is what the story says. It's a joint report. East Africa governments are putting together strategies to meet the global goals for achieving universal health coverage. States have put into motion programs and legislation to facilitate UHC, but legal and political challenges have seen some of the efforts hit a snag. Take Kenya, for example. President William Ruto last October assented to 4 health bills that set the legal framework for the overhaul of the country's UH program. This gave way to the formation of the Social Health Authority, SHA, which enshrines regulatory frameworks for the creation of a new public health scheme, Social Health Insurance Fund, to replace the National Health Insurance Fund, which experts say favor a social class that could afford to remit payments to the fund. But the scheme ran into legal headwinds a week after Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nahumicia issued a gazette notice operationalizing the new Social Health Insurance Fund Act 2023. The Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union obtained court orders stopping the planned rollout. The government moved to Court of Appeal to lift the order and will know its fate on January. But even if the appellant court lifts the orders, the government is grappling with the transition from the 57-year-old NHIF to the new scheme. Now, everything around UHC and health matters can be described in one word: complicated. You hear positive things, then something else comes in. You hear of figures, then there are very many moving parts here. From fraud in hospitals, alleged fraud, if I may say so, from government and the scheme and the money that they're supposed to raise and how they're supposed to go about ensuring it, the questions about the structures that are supposed to ensure that this new scheme actually works, and everything around it. The one thing that is clear, not everything around it has been streamlined. Okay? Court orders and all that notwithstanding. So you ask yourself, how are other countries who have rolled out UHC, what have they done? Because there are countries who have UHC.
How long did it take them to roll it out?
That is the other question. And what do they need to do? If others have done it and have had roadblocks, would you then not say that you have an advantage in understanding what not to do or how to go about it correctly? It's ambitious and it's a good thing that we're trying to do.
It's a good thing. And I think they all know the journey towards getting that UHC thing running. But the temptation to cut corners is the Achilles heel. Because what would you... So the laws are in place. Now we should be discussing regulations that bring those laws to life.
Yes.
Are we having those conversations about regulations that bring the laws to life?
Not that I
Even
know.
by the time those laws were coming into place, those regulations should have been part of the conversation. Like, how we shall operationalize this is when we have these regulations. We should be discussing that and saying, this is how it shall work. We just move up and down, round and round. What's the roadmap for actualizing that UHC? If we say that there is going to be the primary healthcare fund, which is taxpayer funded, how is it going to be managed? How do we actually make sure that at the local level, CT, you can walk to the next health facility there and receive health services just using your UHC card? You know, it's a good dream on paper.
It is mentioned. What's the guarantee that can happen?
The only way we can have that guarantee is by actually seeing work being done on the ground. Have you had conversations at community level and said, all right, so you guys, all of you here, you only have this one health center. We need to increase these 2 health centers. So we are going to have, these private health facilities also included in the map. Those things need to happen. If those conversations are not taking place at community level, this UHC is a big story.
Unfortunately, yes, because
very top level.
Not only that, you see, it unfortunately will fall into a pattern of things that we have seen with this government, changes everything. It started off with the education system, and that started with the previous government. Let's change it, okay? Again, questions galore. Okay, you're changing it. Have you considered this? Have you considered that? Have you considered this? Are there enough teachers? Are there enough classrooms? Do you have facilities? Those questions which were being asked are still being asked.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
Then you move into the health sector. UHC didn't begin with this government. It began with the previous government. It's a good story. But again, now, the way to approach it, say, why don't we use a system which existed, NHIF, let's call it something else, but that is a method. On paper, it sounds good. It's something which worked. NHIF worked.
Yep.
So let's use this. But then for it to work, you need to put certain things in place. Are those things in place? No. So how is it going to work?
Universal health coverage, the principle that has been rolled out, is basically primary health care.
Yes.
And preventive
Yes.
health care. That means that first of all, we saw the president saying he's hiring 1,000, was it 1,000 or 10,000? The community health workers.
Those are 10.
Right.
1,000 would not be adequate. 10.
And they've been deployed. And they're to be paid jointly by the national government and the county government. Okay. But then they need to be attached to a nearest health facility.
They do.
Do we have those health facilities? Only after months later is when we saw Susan Nakhumicha receiving a report about the state of the health facilities in the country. After the fact. All right.
Should that not have preceded that particular rollout so that we know exactly what is needed where?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Some of these things, you just jump very many steps and you know those steps are necessary. And then you come back later and you're trying now to do live trials like they constantly keep doing.
Or someone takes you to court because they know you've skipped those steps and they're saying this thing is not constitutional. This thing doesn't meet the master. And then there's a complaint, why are you standing in the way of our progress? But you haven't followed the laid down processes for this thing.
Yeah.
And if you don't follow the processes, then we are going to have a problem. And as we can see, the problems are already there.
It's just set to flop just because.
And yet, the question is, why this hurry? Why this great need to skip steps that will guarantee something is going to go to court? And yet the steps are known. They are not unknown. Okay.
Being Kenya, you can't just fail from thinking that probably the people who are jumping those is because they know they want to insert themselves into the process, make some money. By the time this whole thing goes to court and all and up and down, they've made their money.
And then and taken off.
And taken off.
And to leave you with your problems, isn't it?
Yeah.
I see.
It's very, very, very sad. There's a sad story of the woman who was found dead and dismembered. We'll talk about it maybe just before we have a conversation in the next hour, right?
Yeah, let's do that.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's a Situation Room. It's Eric, and CT Ndu is away today. She's taking her child to join Form 1. That whole family is going to join Form 1.
It's an occasion.
It's an occasion. It's a big one. Wishing them and all the children joining Form 1 today all the best for the next 4 years. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has reduced the price of super petrol and diesel by 5 shillings in the latest review. EPRA said in a statement that over the next month beginning January 15th, kerosene will retail at 4 shillings and 82 shillings less. As a result, super petrol in Nairobi will retail at 207 shillings and 36 cents per litre, while diesel will go for 196 shillings and 47 cents per litre. Kerosene will meanwhile cost 194 shillings and 23 cents per litre. Similarly, in Mombasa, super petrol will retail at 204 shillings and 30 cents per litre, while diesel will go for 193 shillings and 41 cents per litre, as kerosene costs 191 shillings and 5 cents per litre. EPRA attributed the drop in prices to the average landed cost imported super petrol decreasing by 2 shillings and 40 cents between November and December last year. Diesel also saw a decrease of 9 shillings and 6 cents plus 9.06% in the same period, while kerosene dropped by 4.33%. President William Ruto said fuel prices would reduce next month, but added that the government has no control over fuel prices.
Niliwaambia last month bei ya mafuta itakuja chini, si ndio? Imekuja chini. Nawaambia tena mwezi ujao bei ya mafuta itakuja chini. Lakini msinipigie makofi kwa sababu hakuna kazi mimi nimefanya ndio bei ya mafuta ikateremka. I did nothing. Hakuna kazi nimefanya askofu. Umenisaidia tu kunipigia makofi bure. Hakuna kitu mimi nimefanya. Kwa sababu hii bei ya mafuta sio mimi napandisha na kuteremsha. Kuna watu wengine wako na oil huko ndio wanatuletea bei kila mwezi.
And Azimio leader Raila Odinga has faulted the charge for being silent when the government is clawing back constitutional gains in the country. Odinga, the host of leaders, were at the Kisumu Anglican Church of Kenya for a prayer service. The Azimio leader used the opportunity to train his guns against the church for what he termed as being silent when Kenyans are suffering.
I am a proud member of the Anglican Church, but sometimes I feel embarrassed to see the Anglican Church silent in the face of a lot of what you can call immorality and unfairness in society. So when the church has put the truth to power and to tell those who are in power today, the people are hurting. The people are hurting. They don't seem to understand. It is not a question of just raising taxes. It's yes, your debts.
Odinga further questioned why churches have remained unbothered by the high cost of living, the unbearable taxes imposed by the Kenya Kwanza government, and the war against the judiciary. Now, police in Nairobi are investigating the suspicious death of an unidentified woman whose dismembered body was discovered at an Airbnb residence in Roysambu. The shocking sequence of events began when a male guest in charge of booking the room returned the key early before abruptly disappearing. Here is the manager of the Airbnb property, Rispa Muthoni.
Kitu saa 9 za mchana ndio huyo customer alipiga simu akasema anataka nyumba. Kama kama tu venye si ufanya, tukamwambia pale tenda chukua ufunguo, akachukua ufunguo na akatulipa. Sasa kutoka hapo tushughulikangi na customer tena, tunawachanga mpaka kesho saa 4 za asubuhi ndio tutakuja.
RISPA revealed that the known suspect had secured the room Saturday, January 13th at around 3 p.m.
Kama saa 2 hivi yateka akanipigia simu, kaniambia muona karatasi za black na kuna bedsheet ya white iko kwa stairs chini, na venye amefuata hiyo nini damu inatoka kwa nyumba yetu, tukuje tubishie huyo client ndio afungua tueleze nini alikuwa anachinja
hapo chini. Kwa kufungua hiyo kitu imekatwa ni kama imekatwa na musumeno juu hakuna damu hata kwa nyumba, imekatwa na hapa yote hii na hapa shingo hakuna, then hii imekatwa na hapa hii pia hapa. Sasa hii imewekwa kwa jwala moja, hii jwala moja, hii ameweka mkono imewekwa hivi.
Authorities have now demanded that all Airbnbs install CCTV cameras as a security measure.
Mtu yote ambaye ana operate BNB bila CCTV camera, kitu kama hiki kifanyika, next time we'll take action against that person. Umeelewana? Umeelewa? Kila mtu lazima ike nini? CCTV camera.
The discovery of the woman's body comes barely a week after police arrested John Matara, a suspected serial offender believed to have killed Starlet Wahu inside an Airbnb in Nairobi's South B area. This is News. I'm Dennis Asada. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
So Kiambu Road into town is getting busy, but it's okay for now. It's just at the roundabout at Muthaiga heading into the interchange with Thika Superhighway, but Thika Superhighway is busy. It's stretching all the way back to KCA University. Very, very, very busy. Outer Ring Road is moving, but then the Kangunda Road interchange is getting busier. That's around Umoja 1, that region. Mombasa Road at Nyayo Stadium roundabout, there's something happening. Nyayo Stadium roundabout today has been busy since early morning. That is Mombasa Road into Nyayo Stadium roundabout, Langata Road into Nyayo Stadium, and also the Lusaka Road into Nyayo Stadium. Ngong Road heading into town is busy as you get at the Junction Mall thereabouts. It's busy, but everything else is okay. Jogoo Road, you know the usual issues around City Stadium roundabout, but it's also moving.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your
7
day.
minutes after 7. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. It's Eric and CT. Ndu is away today. She'll be back tomorrow. And we go into our second hour of this conversation. We want to talk about electricity prices. We are joined by Isaac Ndereba. He is an electricity billing expert and also the executive director of the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya. Isaac, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Eric.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Karibu sana.
Asante City. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, sir.
Great, thank you.
Nimeshukuru sana.
Asante.
Yes.
So you've been seeing this shop of mine on TV.
Yes.
And you ask yourself, is this thing real or not? See, it's real.
Yeah, I was wondering whether that is real polish. Someone can take
It's
one.
real polish.
I
yeah.
thought it's a photo.
Let me give you. Look at this tin.
Though it's an empty tin.
You take the tin.
I can use it to put some coins.
Yeah, take the tin and follow the conversation. Okay?
Yes, but I will be.
When
I'm a
you
very
go
good
to a
customer.
shop,
Yes.
and you, of course, you're a good customer of Kiwi. You've used Kiwi all your life.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Next time you're going to buy Kiwi, think about the children who are in school.
Yes.
And think about supporting them in paying school fees. Okay?
Yes.
So when you go and buy Kiwi, look for the one that has this starburst.
Or
The
get
yellow
instant
starburst.
airtime.
The yellow starburst.
Yes.
So read what's on that yellow starburst. What does it say?
It says get instant airtime or data, school fees rewards. Then dial star 459 star 5 hash. Enter code under the lead. Then there is a helpline of 0710 413 751. Terms and conditions apply.
Very good.
What are the terms and conditions?
They apply.
Okay. All right. It's a good thing.
Okay. So you understand that. So once you buy your tin of Kiwi,
yes,
all you expect to do is open the lid.
Yeah.
Under the lid,
yes,
you will find a code. All right. This one, because it's not in the promotion, doesn't have the code. This is for demo purposes.
It will be on the upper lid.
You'll find it on the upper lid. Under, you'll find the code.
Okay.
Take that code, and then when you dial star 459 hash, star 459 star 5 hash, you'll enter that code.
Good. But just to make sure that the polish should always be upside down. Upright. Because the code then would be covered by the
right side up. So it should be like this.
Okay.
Yeah. So that when you open,
just ingine watoto wanaweka black and makanga wanainamisha those things. So we should tell them that there is something that we need the code inside it.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you buy, get the code. When you get the code, you do what? Enter.
dial.
You send. When you send, instantly you get airtime or data free.
Good.
Instantly. Guaranteed. Then also you're guaranteed to enter into a draw, and then that's where now your chances come in. You have a chance of winning 35,000 shillings worth of school fees, which will be sent to a school that you select.
Yes.
For the benefit of a child that you select.
Any child, not necessarily my child.
Any child. You just tell them it is for the benefit of this child who's in this school, and the school fees the money goes to that school.
That has to be like Kipia County. That is my county.
That's your county?
Yes.
Bas.
And we are having a lot of problems with kids. We were trying to talk to the governor, but that's a conversation we'll handle maybe later. Yes.
So one of the things that you can do
Yes.
is actually, because you know that these children are in school, you can buy them Kiwi.
Yes.
Okay? Part of your support. You buy them Kiwi because you know that they need Kiwi.
Yes.
And then you also enter the draw. Okay?
Good.
If you win,
yes,
any of the children then benefit.
That would be good.
Sinamnayo.
Education is key.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good. It's been a very busy weekend. It's been raining. You do not want to keep driving up and down. And that's why we tell you Maramoja taxi is also a way to go city. Tell him why.
Well, there are taxis, there are apps, there are taxi apps, and then there's Maramoja. Now, you'll ask, what's the uniqueness? Well, as somebody who has consumed the services, let me tell you what I have experienced. When you have downloaded the app and you have registered, simple registration, name, email address, phone number. When you then want to hail a cab, you are presented with pictures, several of them, full pictures. You remove the entire screen of your phone.
The cars.
Not the car is small, the person.
Oh, the person, okay.
The driver.
Person, the driver, the miles they have driven, the expertise, the vehicle, the number plate, and what have you. And then you're told how far away they are. It's not small. It's something you see.
It's a screen. It's a face of a person.
Almost the size of the screen on your phone. And then you call.
Okay.
And when you call, or if you don't call, so long as you've started the process, they will call you.
Okay.
And ask, are you in this place? They ask you, what time do you want me to come? Then they'll tell you, I'll be here in this. When they actually get to your destination or where it is you want them to come to, they will tell you, we have arrived. They will then ask you, do you want me to wait? And if so, how long? Okay?
Okay.
Yes. But at the same time, you will have been sent 2 codes. You don't know what the code is for until you get into the vehicle. The driver then tells you have to enter that code before we leave.
Okay.
It's a security feature.
That is a security feature.
Yes. When you reach your destination, where you're going to, you're then told, enter the second code. Without the second code, you cannot pay them.
Oh.
Yes. So it means, you unless you authorize it, these things, you can't, the driver can't go.
Yes.
And also, you can't pay them until you have arrived at your destination. Now, once that has happened, you then look at the other features. You realize with the Maramoja hailing app, the drivers, as you talk to them, tell you that of the apps that they use, this one pays them the best.
Okay. It pays the drivers the best.
Yes. It's a complaint that many drivers ask, because you ask, what do you mean? Say, well, other apps don't pay you quite as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes you even wonder how you're going to make ends meet. These people pay you well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are two features that are unique here. One,
Yeah.
you have a wallet
Mm-hmm.
where you can deposit money. Now, when you deposit money in that wallet, you automatically get a 50% bump. Meaning, if you put 100, you get another 50, so you have 150.
And you said they are still being paid best, the drivers.
Yes.
Then someone is suffering because
No,
if I top up 1,000, I get 1,500.
Yes.
Yet the driver will be paid well. And you are almost telling me the taxi is also cheap.
This is what you call a matrix. They understand what they're doing. They've done their maths.
Wow. Okay.
How do you think actuaries do their business? They do the maths, they do the figures, and they work it over a long period of time. Oh, and you think that is the end? If you add on a promo code, the promo code when you're applying, when you're hailing a taxi, Spice at 30, you get 30% again discount. Now,
you're lift.
You're going to say surely. That the only way to prove the proof of this pudding is in the eating. Why don't you download it? Maramoja, you'll get Maramoja Transport Company, and then you'll get Maramoja. It's a blue app. Download it and see whether the things I'm telling you actually work or not. And you'll get back to us and tell us, "Aye, CT, that thing you told me, it works wonderfully," or "Aye."
Why didn't I know about it?
No,
before?
I'll tell you something. I had an experience last weekend. I was in the coast for a whole week.
Yes.
And when I came at the SGR,
yes,
I took a taxi. And it was a long journey because I had to be taken by that lady up to my house,
yes,
which I had to pay 2,500.
Yes.
And then she was complaining that company doesn't pay them very well. I also had an opportunity to be lifted from, there is another week I was in the US. So I was taken from around where I was staying, which is about 15 minutes to Orlando International Airport. I paid $45. Now, 15 minutes, $45.
What?
That's around 6,000 and something.
What?
And so I was asking the one who is in Kenya, why don't you think, how do you think the US operates? Because that's a lot of money. The fuel, in fact, was cheap. Fuel in Orlando was around 120 shillings. Anyway, that's a discussion.
Oh, it's an interesting perspective, isn't it?
An interesting one. City, why don't you welcome Isaac with the day's proverb?
Yes, our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the country of Nigeria.
Nigeria.
A one-legged man is seldom thankful to God until he sees a crippled person.
Yeah, that's straightforward. That's a straightforward.
It's a straightforward one.
It's a straightforward one.
So what do you think the deeper meaning is?
The deeper meaning is that people don't appreciate what they have until they find someone else who doesn't have what they have. Sometimes people are quick to complain about what they don't have without knowing that what they have is God-given and someone else didn't get what they got. Yeah,
It's already a gift.
It's already a gift.
You're already blessed.
Yeah. The others are normally quite hard, but that one was a bit easy for me today. Nigeria must be very good friends there. Yeah. I hope they are able to pay for their power. Yes.
You're lucky that Ndu is not here. She'd have given you the proverb in pidgin. Then he'd have asked you to translate it to English.
Oh.
Tomorrow and Wednesday and the rest of the week's guests.
This is the first time I'm finding Ndu not in the studio. So there is not gender balance, but there is age balance. Because I actually saw someone who was 72 years who passed on yesterday. And she looked like she is 40 years. Yeah. That can't be 72 years.
That's Liz Wanyika.
If she's 72, then it means city's age can be different from that.
This man is going to say I'm around 90.
No.
Yes.
But she didn't have any white hair.
Where he's heading.
We know where he's heading with that one, don't we?
Isaac.
Yes.
There's a story in the People Daily today.
Yeah.
Small businesses in Kenya are facing a steep increase in their electricity bills this month after the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority revised the tariffs by an estimated 11.6%. According to the regulator, the hike is mainly due to the rise in the foreign exchange rate fluctuation adjustment, which reflects the cost of servicing foreign currency loans used to finance power generation projects. The FERFA more than doubled from 3.169 kilowatt hours in December to 6.46 kilowatt hours in January. EPRA explained that the change was triggered by a surge in foreign currency payments made by KPLC towards outstanding power purchase costs and Kenyans' loan repayments in December that amounted to 938 million shillings and 274 million shillings, respectively. They're saying the regulator says KPLC had deferred some of its foreign currency obligations since March last year due to the tight liquidity in the forex market. However, when the market conditions improved in December, KPLC resumed making the pending payments, resulting in a higher foreign exchange fluctuation adjustment. Small businesses paying higher. I want to go, before you come in, to again in November last year, at the end of November last year, at a cabinet meeting, President William Ruto issued a directive to the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, CS Davis Chirchir, to lower the prices of electricity. In a cabinet dispatch on that day, the cabinet had agreed that electricity prices should be lowered due to the increased use of hydro-generated power. To fortify national response, Cabinet directs the Ministry of Energy to pass the benefit of lower electricity tariffs to the public in a manner that promotes the increased use of hydro-generated power, which has presently increased to 20%, while diesel has gone down from 15% to 10%. That's according to the dispatch in November. Do those two relate? Are they?
These are country of politics, because when you say reduce the cost of power, the cost of power actually could have been reduced. But then if you, like for example, you reduce the cost of power, then you increase the cost of forex. You reduce by, in fact, they reduce by, let me just be specific, because I know they like hitting the numbers. There are those people who consume between 0 to 30 kilowatt hours. Their cost in April was 12.22. So in July, that cost, instead of going down, went up. There was no public participation. It went up by 0.16% though, to 12.24. And then those who consume between 30 to 100, their cost gazetted was 16.3. It went up to 16.58. That was an increase of 1.72%. And then those who consume over 100 kilowatt hours, their cost was 20.97. That one was reduced by 1.86% to 20.58. That is, when you talk of change in power prices and you're hitting Kenya Power and all that, that is a change they made.
Who is they?
Kenya Power. That is the change they made. Now, let's come to EPRA, because that is our biggest problem. First of all, let's agree EPRA have been paid 0.03 Kenya shillings per kilowatt hour, 3 cents per kilowatt hour, ever since Kibaki time. In July, they increased from 0.03 to 0.08.
From 3 cents to 8 cents.
To 8 cents. That translates from 20 million to around 80 million per month. I didn't hear of any public participation. They didn't even announce it. So that is one thing they did. And remember, these people are supposed to be protecting us from those other players. But they are the ones who gazette the punitive levies and taxes.
What's the EPRA charge?
EPRA charge is 0.08.
What is it?
Sorry?
What is it?
What's the charge for? It's basically because we I think that is a good question, because they say that the consumers should pay them something because of protecting us. It's a levy, it's just like the Warma and all that. They are protecting us.
Let's just pause and go back a little bit. What exactly is EPRA supposed to be doing?
EPRA is supposed to be to look at both sides. That these are the generators and these are the distributors and these are the consumers. They should come and agree that you cannot press this guy like that. You are supposed to be here. But what we have seen, EPRA, anything proposed by Kenya Power has been passed the way it is. So I don't think there is anything they protect us in. And so we should not be paying them. But that is number one.
So the EPRA charge is a levy?
It's a levy.
Okay.
Yes.
But does it necessarily go to the operations of EPRA, or does it go into part of government revenues?
No, it goes to EPRA. In fact, they are even complaining that that is not enough.
So it's been 3 cents since
the time I
EPRA
can go back to the bill of 2007. It has been 0.0. And changing that, I think it should take a lot of discussion. But they increased by 167%.
Who did? Parliament or EPRA?
I mean, it's EPRA. What would you say? Would it be the CS or something? But EPRA gazetted and changed the year cost. They didn't even announce it. They didn't even, I didn't even see a gazette notice. In fact, I called them a lot of times. I even went there and told them, I need the gazette notice to this change. They didn't have it. So that is one thing that, we are even tired of going to court.
So then is there a levy that has changed if it's not in gazette?
We have not seen that levy. Gazettement.
So how do you know it has changed?
In the bills. I mean, we have the analysis we do for the bills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is in the bills. There is a way we normally, if you pay like 100 shillings, the amount that will go to EPRA and the amount that go to Forex, we are supposed to know how much is it per unit. Mm-hmm. It's just a computation. And we are able to know that. But because I think these people, you say these people's daily reward. Now, let me read the news. Aside. First of all, I have said the cost of power had changed with Kenya Power for the issues that I have talked about. But now I know this is what people like hearing. That those who are getting tokens that were 43 at 1,000 shillings, you pay 1,000 shillings. You used to get 43. Now they are getting 37.
You used to get 43 what?
Tokens. 43 units. Tokens. So in December, now in January.
You pay 1,000.
Yes.
It is worth 43.
Yeah. That was in December.
Yeah, so what happens with that 57?
I mean, no.
Taxes and levies.
Those are taxes and levies.
All right. I'm just asking.
Yeah, but you see, okay, so just try to imagine that the cost was 23 shillings. So 1,000 divided by 23, you used to get 43. Now the cost went up to 26.72. So you are getting 37 units.
Mm-hmm.
Those are people who are using very little power. Then there is another bracket between 30 to 100. Those who are getting 35 units, they are now getting 31.
Now, the same 1,000, Bob.
For the same 1,000. Now, the biggest noise is with the people who are getting 30 units for 1,000. Now they are getting 27. Now, what has changed? The cost of power has gone up by 3.66 for all tariffs. 3.66 shillings. That is the change between December and now.
Okay.
So, the increase in cost of the percentage, let us leave all that. Just tell people the cost of power went up by 3.66. Then why and Kenya Power did not increase their power since July? Then you tell them. This is where I think the problem.
Who has the mandate for increasing the cost of power?
It's
Who has
EPRA.
the power?
The cost of power, I told you there is a cost of power and there are the levies. If there is a cost of power called the base tariff, Kenya Power is supposed to apply or propose the increment. They give EPRA to EPRA. Then EPRA does public participation. And then the citizens agree to it.
Okay.
If we don't agree, they are not supposed to change. And that is why we went to court. Because they didn't do Zara.
So this 3.6, they did not ask us?
No, now that one is not on the base tariff. That is not Kenya Power. That is the government that was taking money because of Forex. You said that is Forex. So they collected more Forex. It's EPRA that gazettes that the government needs this money. So Kenya Power, can you pay these people using that money? But it's not your money.
All right. So this bill that we pay, Kenya Power, we are not just paying Kenya Power. We are paying very many other people as well.
We only pay around 40 to 50% to Kenya Power.
Okay.
There is fuel cost for IPPs, diesel. There is Forex. There is Warma. There is rural electrification. All those things.
We pay.
We pay.
So this story, this is the one, thank you very much. Now I want to understand. This story, so where does the subsidy come in? And we're already paying for these things. Because when someone talks subsidy, I'm assuming you've taken some money and put on our behalf. But from everything you're telling me, we've already prepaid for these things.
Is there a power subsidy?
Right now, there isn't.
No, it's the language of subsidy that I want to understand in this context. Because it's going to come up.
There is nothing like, subsidy when the former president said there is subsidy from January of 2022 to August.
Was there subsidy?
There was, let me say there was some 26 billion that was given to Kenya Power to manage that reduction.
Given from where?
Given by other sectors, like if it is Warma, all the other sectors, including even Kenyan, they just...
Which means this money that we were already paying for, there was a kitty, and this is the same money that was being given back, and we'd already paid for it.
Yes.
Or am I getting this thing wrong?
That is right. That is right. Now, but let me talk of this Forex, because I think Forex is where the issue is. Ever since I came to understand about billing, which is more than 15 years ago, Forex has always been less than 1 billion Kenya shillings. Collection. Less than 1 billion.
What is collection?
The collection is, if they say like there is 0.86, you multiply by the units sold. You realize
over
that
per year.
Per month.
Per month.
Per month.
As in cumulative billing by Kenya Power.
Let me say, Kenya has a generation of around 1 billion kilowatt hours. Those tokens you buy 10, 15, all that. If you add for including the industries, they will be around 1 billion minus the losses, which are around 20%, 25%.
Okay.
Now, every coin that you hear Forex has changed from 1 to 2. That difference of 1 has to be multiplied by 1 billion.
Yep.
You're right?
Yep.
So now, after all that collection, every month they used to get around 1 billion collection. Now, this month, they collected 5.8 billion. 5.8 billion. You know how much it was in November? 747 million. The highest I had seen was around June of 2023, which was 1.87 billion. Now, 5.8 billion. That has cost the change. You know, actually, the Forex cost has always been 1 shilling, 0.8, 2.13, and we really complained. Then at one point, they brought it to December. It was 3.17.
So this foreign thing, what does it represent? Does it represent the fluctuation of the shilling against, say, the dollar?
Yes, but let me explain it. What happens? You know, we have IPPs. And by the way, IPPs in that collection were paid 5.4 billion. Out of 5.8, they collected 5.4 billion. But now, when you have loans that were taken in euros and dollars, and perhaps it was around 60 shillings during the signing of the contract, that is in 2007 or thereabout. And then right now, the dollar is around 160 shillings or 150. There's a difference of almost 90 shillings or 80. Now, that difference is the one we keep on paying every time. But now there is a shocker because when you change the Forex from 0.8 shillings in November to 6.46, that means you have a whole 5.5 shillings. That is 5.5 billion. Now, did you hear like the dollar actually changed from 160 to 400? No, because that is the ratio we would use there. So that is basically
Before
what
November, one was the last Forex adjustment, fluctuation adjustment.
It changes all the time. In fact, Forex, let's
take a break. Do this. As during this break, maybe we can go back into, we have seen the Kenya shilling depreciating, let's say since the beginning of 2023. Okay.
Yeah.
Do from the beginning of 2023, how much was the Forex adjustment in our power bills?
Yes.
And then compare that with January 2024.
We have those figures.
And then we see, does it correspond
with the actual
fluctuation?
We have those figures.
Do that during the break. Okay. Isaac Nereba is the Executive Director of Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya. He's an electricity billing expert. He's our guest this morning. We are seeking to understand, all right, so clearly the cost of power is going up in our monthly bills. Somebody is saying here, in December, for 1,000 bob, I got 30.29 units. In January, for the same 1,000 bob, I've gotten 27.16 units.
Exactly.
There's a reduction there of about 3 units.
Yeah, it's because of the increase of 3.66 shillings.
Explain that, and that's what now Isaac is here to help us understand. Kenya's biggest conversation takes a break on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube and Facebook. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga.
CT Lodge.
Muga, not Muga.
He's here, and here's the day's proverb.
One man marries a woman, another man marries troubles.
Is he the same man?
Spice.
A lion cannot eat more than 2 donkeys. It would die a natural death because there is no ICU in the forest. In Kenya, it has become the situation that you cannot conduct 2 elections. In fact,
with the same IBC.
You can't.
I tell you about this Indian friend of mine who was enjoying other Indians in the group. He wrote the word valve and told them, read it.
So how did he say it? I really want to know.
The valve.
Kina Edna, it's the you've said the B's and the P's. Kila kitu mkisia akisema atasema opposite.
Opposite?
Ukisema yeye anasema opposite.
Opposite.
Wewe ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room, Spice. The only way to start your day.
Okay, so Nairobi has been a cold one for the weekend. It's currently 16 degrees, expect a mostly cloudy day and highs of 24. Mombasa, currently sunny at 27, highs of 33. Malindi, it's going to be highs of 33, currently sunny at 27 as well. Kakamega, cloudy at 19, highs of 27. Nakuru, highs of 25, mostly cloudy day at 16 presently, mostly sunny in Nyeri at 15 and highs of 25. Kinshasa, DRC, mostly cloudy day at 31 highs and currently at 25. Kampala, mostly cloudy at 17. In Lagos, clear skies at 25. Mogadishu, partly sunny at 27. Addis Ababa, sunny at 11. Dar es Salaam, mostly cloudy at 28. And we talked about Kisumu, mostly cloudy at 20. In London, cloudy skies at 1 degree. Paris, cloudy -1 with snow warning. Beijing, sunny at 2 degrees and highs of 3 expected later. Clear skies in New York, -3 is a present temperature, and it's gonna rise to maybe highs of 7, but lows of -6 later.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning.
The road into and out of Outer Ring Road, Makratasi, Thika Superhighway, all the way to the Outer Ring Junction, coming towards Muthaiga Interchange, Makratasi as well. Kiambu Road is bad, starting from DCI offices, coming in towards Thika Superhighway, and Mombasa Road is moving now at Nyayo Stadium roundabout. There was an issue earlier, but now it's moved on into Bunyala Interchange, where Aerodrome Road is very busy as you approach that. Also, Langata Road, as you come into the Galleria Mall, and this is, that area there, it's also very, very, very busy. Ngong Road, heading in towards town, is only busy at around the Junction Mall, but then thereafter it moves on well. Anything else that you think we ought to talk about, please let us know by tagging us on X at SpiceFMKE.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
So our bills have gone up considerably, electricity bills, that's what I'm referring to. And, we know one of the reasons is the fluctuation in the Kenya shilling. Isaac Dereba, who is an electricity billing expert and executive director of the Electricity Consumer Society of Kenya, is our guest. As we took the break, we said, Isaac, take us back through the year on those fluctuations and what was happening to that fuel adjustment.
Thank you, Eric. Just slightly before we do that, someone had commented that he had lost some tokens between December and January. Just to answer him quickly is that please note that the cost of power for his tariff was 33.16 in December. In January is 36.81. So getting 30.16, he's now getting 27.17. So the increase is 3.66 shillings, and so he lost 3 units. But there are some people who lost more units, those who consume between 0 to 30 kilowatt hours, because they lost 5.93 kilowatt hours. They were getting 43, they are now getting 37.42, because they also have to increase by 3.66. Those people who are between 30 to 100 lost 4 units, 4.04, because their cost of power is 31.97 now, and they are now getting 31.28 units. So basically the cost of power, the person who is paying the highest is 36.81. At one point when I was here, I said the cost of power will be 40 shillings before we move, before we go for too long. Now it's headed there. We only have about 3 shillings to 40 shillings. So Kenya will be the highest, having the highest cost of power. But now you requested that we check on how are the forex rates for the year. Let me start by November 2022. The cost was 1.41.
In November 22.
Yes. And I have all the costs, but the highest you will find all through up to around October 2023 was 2.05. So all the other figures are around there.
So October 2023, it rose to
2.05, but it kept on fluctuating. In fact, I had in March it was 2.16, for example. So it has been playing around there, and so we've been collecting between 1 billion to 1.8 billion.
You'll talk about the collection later.
Yes.
That don't increase the confusion. Let's go slowly by slowly.
Okay.
So the forex adjustment charge.
Yes.
November 2022 was 1.41 per unit.
Yes.
The highest you saw was
2.16
in March
2023. Yes.
Right, last year.
Yes, and just in November 2023, it was 0.80. Right.
In December.
Then immediately in December, it came to 3.17.
Okay.
And then now in January is 6.46.
January 6.46.
Yeah.
All right.
So that has to be added to the bill.
In any of these adjustments,
yes,
was there any intervention by EPRA?
Actually, it is EPRA that gazettes.
Okay.
Yes.
So EPRA is the one that has been setting this tariff every month.
Every month.
And saying this is the fuel.
This is a fuel
foreign exchange rate fluctuation adjustment.
And inflation.
And it puts it there.
Yes.
So this time when it says that it's because of Kenya Power having to pay outstanding power purchase costs and Kengen's loan repayments in December,
yes,
does that explain?
It doesn't explain to me because why do they have to load it in 1 month? That is the first problem.
Okay.
Number two, who is this? First of all, let us agree, IPPs taking 5.4 billion in 1 month is wrong. Because, IPPs normally take around 80%.
80% of?
80% of that collection.
Okay.
It goes to IPPs. On average, because you'll find sometimes they take 96%.
IPPs have not been mentioned in this explanation, Isaac. I want us to focus on the explanation.
Yes.
The regulator said Kenya Power had deferred some of its foreign currency obligations since March last year, when you say it was the highest, 2.16. Since then, it didn't go up, due to the tight liquidity in the forex market. So what they were expecting to push back to their suppliers, they were not doing it because they were not able to get the dollars on time.
Yes.
However, when the market conditions improved in December 2023, KPLC resumed making the pending payments, resulting to the higher fluctuation adjustment. Does that make sense?
It doesn't make sense to me because, first of all, even when you're paying loan, it is normally divided into many months so that you pay slowly. If they had anticipated such kind of a surge, or they were planning that they are going to pay when the dollar is okay, the market is good, the market conditions,
the dollar is available,
they should have loaded maybe 1 shilling on top throughout the year because they had a plan. But now coming in January, loading 6 shillings once, and number two, we are not able, because there is a formula that we normally use for computing the forex. Now, that formula you can't say because they are trying to prove that we are actually recovering or we are trying to recover some uncharged amounts. Now, at that point, the formula cannot be used. And they have been doing the same even for the fuel cost. And then remember, as they do that, how sure are the citizens or even us as a society, how sure are we that they have not over-collected? You see, maybe it should have been 4.8. Now they have taken 6.46. How can you confirm that? How can the parliament confirm that? The Energy Committee in the Parliament, in the Senate, how can they confirm that? Remember, it is also difficult for them to know how much was loaded. So they don't get those explanations. Nobody comes to explain. It's only us who are trying to make an effort. But you see, it is a government statement that this is what we have done. But then I am wondering, is it the society that should be making an effort to inform the consumers, or is it EPRA? And they should not tell us about the Gazette notice. Because when is the last time you saw a Gazette notice? If you go to the Kenya Law website, you realize even fishing out that Gazette notice is very difficult because it is not labeled. You will have to search among thousands of pages. We have an expertise in searching for them because we know when they are normally gazetted. And that when we say there are some that are never gazetted, we are sure, because our job is mainly to fish them out and look at the truth. The figures I'm giving you are the gazetted figures. So we have all the gazette notices. But now, besides that, because as experts, we are able to get that information if EPRA are supposed to put it there. How is Mama Mboga supposed to know that?
To know what?
To know the change. Because you see, there is a consumer who should be informed. We have done this because of that.
So you're saying every time you receive a bill,
yes,
and there's a change,
there is always a change.
It should come with an explanation.
Yes, it should come with an explanation. This is a change, or rather, we should have a forum.
But the explanation you want is the technical detail that you want given. Do you think consumers want that technical detail?
It would be important to give the consumers those details, because they are taking advantage of the consumers not caring or not knowing. Because like now, the consumers are simply saying, we were getting these tokens, but now they have reduced. That is the only information they have.
Actually, as a consumer, I would like to know.
Yes.
I would definitely want to know how it is, because I'm always puzzled by the electricity bills. I'm genuinely puzzled. How it fluctuates, how it moves.
For example, you'll be among the first people saying, Kenya Power are thieves. Why? Because that is a talk in the street. Kenya Power niwezi. Now, you see, I was getting 43 units. Now I'm getting 27.
Wanakula.
Remember, they were getting 43. Now they are getting 27. Why? Because you have even changed the tariff without you knowing. Remember, even that tariff, you're supposed to be told that you are now on this tariff, but because of your average for the last 6 months, you have now been changed. That is important.
You see, what I find puzzling is that if I look at electricity consumption at my official residence, there's nothing that has changed.
Mm-hmm.
But that,
as far as you're concerned,
as far as I'm concerned, nothing has changed.
In terms of consumption?
Yeah, yes, nothing. I've not added new gadgets. There's nothing. I don't keep the lights on longer hours. I mean, there's nothing that has changed.
You'll be surprised. In the coast region, there's a certain client we were dealing with. They used to pay around 9 million. 9 million for Kenya Power. Actually, it's a hotel. Kenya Power bill of 9 million. That is not a lot. In fact, people like Base Titanium who are closing down were paying 250 million per month. So those were still clients in another forum. Now, that hotel was paying 9 million. Now, after doing the analysis for this year, they were actually pushing the engineer that the cost of power, we are consuming a lot. And he was unable to explain. Until we went and told them, you are now paying 18 million because of the changes in the cost of power. Otherwise, your consumption has reduced by 20,000. You get? So they had actually saved in terms of consumption. But look now, instead of them paying less than 9 million, it had doubled.
The cost had gone up.
So they were paying 18 shillings per unit, then they are now paying 28 shillings.
It is that increase that makes me ask the questions and makes me wonder. Because I'm saying, let's say even my consumption changes because I get visitors from up country who stay maybe for a week. They don't stay there forever.
It has nothing to do with consumption.
So I'm wondering, why is it that month after month after month, the fluctuation of the bill has an upward trajectory?
Yes.
So I'm asking, what is happening? See, that's a question I'm asking.
That is a question I need it to be explained to every month. Like now, you see the cost of fuel.
Yes.
It's normally, you're normally told the cost of fuel in the media. But the bill is so complicated that the media cannot keep on saying now the cost of power has changed from this to this. Why is that difficult? Because they are also not able to check what are these changes. Now, you will say Kenya Power is stealing because the cost has changed. You have lost 5 tokens from December to now. But remember, it's not Kenya Power. It is a government that has decided this is the time to load Forex to 6 shillings.
And it's EPRA who does that.
It is EPRA who does that. And it is a ministry. So Kenya Power cannot do that. The cost that had been agreed upon with the consumers, with Kenya Power, it still remains the same. In fact, it's only in July that they reduced a little bit, they increased others, which is neither here nor there. It was a small change. What is actually, because like 0.02 cents may not matter when you're talking about 3.66 shillings, because the increase is 3.66. But now, remember, I have never heard where Forex adjustment was higher than fuel cost on the bill. We've been complaining of the fuel cost. Now you can imagine fuel cost was around 4 point something shillings. Now This is 6.46. So we have changed the tactic of saying, oh, let us remove the diesel IPPs and all that. And remember, even the fuel cost is supposed to reduce because, number one, Kipevu 1 stopped generation. The contract has ended. Muhoroni gas turbine, the contract has ended. Savo Power, the contract ended. So out of the 9, we have removed 3. So we only have
we removed them?
Yes, we have removed them. Because we normally get the generation.
Is it that we no longer need the power they were generating?
We didn't even need, because we said the utilization was 23%. Even Rabai itself, operating at 70%, can be able to serve Mombasa, the whole of Mombasa region. So we don't need all. In fact, even when we were putting Triumph Power, Zika Power, I think Gulf Power, all those, that was conmanship. We didn't need that installation. Even to date, we still have an oversupply. They keep on saying it's because of being on standby. How many times have you found there was power outage in the whole country?
Well, it's not about power outage. The CEO of Kenya Power has sat here and just told us, for example, now it's rainy season.
Yes.
Is solar generating as much as it's expected to generate? When wind is not operating at optimum, what happens to those sources of power? What happened to in the days when we did not have water in the dams?
And then there's load shedding.
And then when all those things come into play, then you find that you have to go into this one a bit stable power supplier.
That's not true.
Who's a thermal?
That is not true, because
what's untrue?
He told you that because you didn't have the figures. He can't tell me that because I have the figures here.
What is the figure?
We have 5 solar companies that are very strong.
What does very strong mean?
Very strong means they are giving us more. They are 50 megawatt. They are giving us more than 100 million
every day,
kilowatt hours every month. Now we have
no.
Yeah, every day.
Whatever. You are disputing what he said.
Okay.
So I want you to dispute properly.
Yes.
He said, if the sun has not come up today,
yes,
this is my expected load of consumers today.
Yes.
The sun has not come up. Very well done, solar station. But there's no sun.
Generated.
It has not generated power.
Because there's no sun.
Because there's no sun. What do I do? So you have very good solar generators. But if there's fluctuations in that, what happens? If there are fluctuations in wind, what happens? Now counter that by telling me.
Now, let me tell you.
There's never been a fluctuation in wind or solar.
Okay. Let me just explain in this way, because the figures don't lie. When you come at the end of the month and you realize that wind has given you 200 million kilowatt hours. It doesn't matter when the wind was working or not. It doesn't matter. But you have gotten those kilowatt hours. When it is solar and you've gotten 100 million kilowatt hours, that is what should go into determining the cost of power, because the mix is different. You didn't generate using thermal throughout, isn't it?
But
because out of the
power
1 billion,
consumption is not a monthly issue. It's a minute-by-minute issue.
It's a monthly issue.
If you are sitting at the control,
yes,
would you be saying, no, at the end of the month, I'm going to get power from that solar station, so it's okay?
Let me correct you.
Or should you make sure that you have the demand?
Let me correct you. I think it is working how these politicians want Kenyans to think, and that is how I see you have thought. I have told you, when we are talking about the cost of power, it is based on the total monthly generation. It's not the daily.
Yes.
Now, even what you were saying about the kicking in of the thermals and all that.
Monthly cannot exist without the daily.
It is. Then the daily, remember these thermal generators, has kicked in for maybe an hour.
Yes.
So we will still pay the units generated by that thermal plant. Just that. We will not talk of it is so expensive because we came in Nama, because we pay in terms of fuel consumed. You see, so the units generated are based on the fuel consumption, and that is what we pay. So in fact, if we have only generated 50 million using thermals and we have generated 500 million using solar, you cannot tell me that it is expensive because we brought in thermal, because it came to a certain period and we are paying for it. That is the basis. So nobody should come and say that because of explanation that we have low water levels, sometimes we don't have sun, we have this and this, we are agreeing that the thermal generators can come in. But when we have the solar, the total generation should determine the price. And I'm happy because that is what is happening currently. But now, the only challenge I have is when you have 3 power plants that is for thermal, that is Muhoroni gas turbine, Kipevu 1 and Kipevu 2, we were expecting that we would find a change because everybody is saying, shut off these somewhat IPPs that are using diesel and all that. The diesel cost has not come down. You've just seen we paid 5.4 billion to IPPs. Is that because that there is no sun? No, we have to think like people who are using data. And that data is here with us, and that is what I'm saying. Is anybody trying to tell us that month we didn't have Kidaruma? Kamburu was this and that. We didn't have Orokaria 1 because of this reason and this reason. As a result, we brought in more thermal generators that has made us consume this amount of diesel. So that amount of diesel, because they gazette, that is why we are computing the cost is going to be 3.63.
Isaac.
You get? Yeah.
This is what you do on a daily basis.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Fishing data, mining data, understanding, analyzing data, asking questions to the relevant places.
Yes.
Every time you come here, Isaac, you're asking questions. Does it mean that you don't get answers at all?
Number one, the level at which we are, for them to give us an answer or a decision, it has to be cascaded to several other levels.
And what level is this, Isaac?
That is the CS.
Yes.
Now, if you go to the CS, he doesn't explain. You know, he will wait for the PS, and then the PS gets data from this and that. The only place we have gotten some few answers is through the parliament, when we have summoned them with the MPs, the Energy Committee. That is the only time they try to explain. And mind you, some of the explanations they give, eventually they are told, go and find out further, because they will be asked a question that will not convince anybody. They will also not be convinced after explaining. And they will say, okay, let's come back with an answer.
So what's your current question? Your current question is on this forex fluctuation adjustment.
Yes.
And justification for it.
Justification for it.
Okay.
And how much was required to be collected and how much was actually collected. And I say there is a formula that computes that. And we know how to work with the formula. And
So
those are not the figures we are getting.
According to your formula,
yes,
what should the cost of power be if you put in the forex fluctuation adjustment? By how much?
Yes.
By how much should this have risen? It has gone up from 2.1. It has gone to what?
6.46.
6.4.
Yes.
By how much should it have gone?
I would
using the formula.
Using the formula and even catering for the big change of the months, what they are recovering.
Yes.
At 2.5, for all the months that they are recovering, would have been bearable. But not 6, and mind you, 6.4.
Bearable to who?
To the consumer. I mean, we have just lost a few tokens per thousand, like 5.
Would it have met what Kenya Power is looking for in April? In terms of
because it is accumulated,
paying the deferred costs.
Yes, because
the
they are
Kenyan
collecting a shilling extra every month in anticipation that this money will be required. And remember, even when we are doing public participation, we told them be putting funds. It's called stabilization funds, so that we don't realize some very huge hikes in between the months, because we are not able to explain. Even the consumers are not able to understand, why am I paying 28 and I had paid 24 last month? You know, so instead of that big change, they should have put some stabilization fund as a government, or they keep on deducting a shilling that goes into that stabilization, such that when we come in, if you had collected this 6.46, 50 cents every month from January last year, we would not have had that. But now the challenge would be, it is 6.46. Coming down to 1 or 2 is difficult, because even the consumers did not understand what happened.
So for purposes of everybody understanding,
yes,
the person who was paying, using 1,000 shillings in November, December, they got 30 units.
Yes.
And now they're getting 27.16 units.
Yes.
Using your formula,
yes,
how much would it be? What would how many units would 1,000 bob be getting them?
In case they did not increase.
Using your formula, just using your formula.
Oh, well, using our formula, that would be around 32. Because even when they were getting that, we still had a problem.
So it would have been more units.
It would have been 31 units. And mind you, those...
From 30 units to 31 units.
Yes. We even actually...
But you've adjusted your forex from 2.16 to 2.2.
No. What we are saying, when we do the calculation from, if they were taking the shilling, the 0.5 shillings from January, that would have been 6 shillings, isn't it?
They were not. So we are in January now.
Right now...
Apply your formula.
Right now, you see, I even have a problem on how much did they need to collect using Forex. I already have that problem. So even computing with my formula, they first need to tell me this is how much we needed to collect. But they collected 5.4 billion. What if they needed 3 billion? Who has told you this is the deferred payment and they need to be paying for this loan? Until you have that figure, they will add 1 billion or 2 and you will not understand for what and you will not be able to ask a question. So there is no time of using a formula there. It's first getting how much money did you need? And so why did you collect all this much? Why did this amount, 93%, go to IPPs? And why did Kenyan take this? And because they normally take in that proportion.
And you were saying that 3 of those IPPs had been retired because the contract
had
ended.
Yes.
So,
so you wonder who are these IPPs? Of course, they pay using the generated amount. So you also need to look at how much is the generated amount for the period that had been deferred, so that you see how much was the pending payment, such that you know now I need 4.8 billion. Why did you collect 5 point all that amount? Like now they collected a total of 5.8.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Ask the questions. When you get the answers, please come.
I think the best place to ask the questions are here, so that Kenyans can join us into asking those questions. And then you bring them, ask them. I always say that there is no forum they have ever agreed to come and explain together, so that we can sit with them. They answer something, we ask them again. They can never agree to that. But they will keep on coming one by one, so that you can give them a leeway. They will confuse you and you will be happy. You say, oh, that is the reason. But you have, many times, even when you're having that discussion, I normally try to ask the question.
Isaac Dereva is an electricity billing expert. He's been our guest. Keep it here for more conversations. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Residents of Baringo are worried following the brutal murder of the deputy school head at Chemoi Primary School only days after 5 other people were killed in the area. The locals say it is a blow to the community, as the teacher was the reason the school had reopened. The teacher was shot dead by suspected bandits. The locals decried the lack of security despite there being a heavy security deployment in the area. They're now calling on the government to do more and tame the banditry permanently. And a 25-year-old woman was found dead in her rented one-bedroom house where she was believed to be living with a lover. Residents of Kwandomo area in Magarini, Kilifi County were shocked to find the lifeless body of the middle-aged woman known by the name Malkia at around 6 in the morning.
Hiyo ni vibaya sana, kwa sababu kama mmekosana na hamuelewani, afadhali umwambie rudi kwao, ama ikishindikana we hama muachie nyumba kuliko kutoa maisha ya mtu. Nafikiri maswali ya uhusiano ni kwamba muelewane. Ukiamua unataka kuoa, muelewane. Kama hamwezi elewana, basi ni afadhali umchukue mrudishe kwao kuliko kumtoa uhai.
More than 45 people are in police custody for smoking shisha in different places in Nyeri, Mombasa County after special officers from Nakuru conducted a raid. The 45 were arrested at the hideout and escape shisha joints, where more than 50 shisha pots and over 10 cartons containing special shisha flavors were confiscated. Nakuru CEO Anthony Amerikwa has said that they will intensify similar raids in the country to free many young people who have ventured into the shisha addiction.
We got information that there was this joint here that was selling shisha. As you know very well, shisha has been banned since 2017. And upon accessing the premise, we were able to apprehend 38 suspects, including the proprietor and the manager. In addition to that, we were able to collect over 47 shisha gongs. We were able to get over 700 shisha ingredients, which we will subject to an assessment at the government chemist to verify the actual contents of that shisha ingredient.
Tourism sector got another major boost after the first 2023 luxury cruise liner Norwegian Dawn called at the port of Mombasa early yesterday, carrying over 2,300 passengers and 1,100 crew aboard, sailing to Mombasa from Seychelles. Norwegian Dawn brought over 2,000 passengers from 54 nationalities to the Kenyan coast for excursion to explore the pristine white sandy beaches and national parks. Kenya Ports Authority Managing Director Captain William Ruto, who piloted the vessel to berth number 1, appreciated the call, reiterating the authority's support for cruise tourism in the country through investment in infrastructure to position the port of Mombasa as a cruise tourism hub. Benjamin Tayari, KPA board chairperson, said the visit is an affirmation of Kenya as a tourism hub in tourism.
We are here to support the cruise tourism, and you can see the kind of infrastructure that we've put in place as KPA. It is to support the cruise tourism. I want to assure the ship captain, the staff captain, that the port of Mombasa is safe, and we are here to support the tourism. You are free to visit our small city here, the port of Mombasa, and also enjoy the white beaches in the port in the city of Mombasa.
The vessel master, Captain Asin Guru, said that he was highly impressed with the reception the ship was accorded when it entered the Kenyan waters.
We're looking forward to come back here in this nice port. On behalf of my officers and crew and Norwegian Cruise Line, we are really looking forward to come back here, and hopefully at one day we can have Mombasa as a turnaround port.
And a 32-year-old woman is being held at Oyugis police station in Rachonyo's South Sub-County on suspicion of killing a newborn child and burying her in a farm in Kawiti village, Kamuma sub-location. The suspect was arrested after her neighbors became suspicious when they did not see the one-day-old baby and reported the incident to the area assistant chief, who went straight to the house and questioned the children, who then revealed what had happened. According to Kamuma sub-location assistant chief Collins Joram, the mother of 3 gave birth Thursday in the village and was assisted by community health promoter in delivering the baby before returning home. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, so still the same situation on Kiambu Road heading in towards town. It begins at DCI headquarters and coming all the way. But of course, you know what the police usually do. They use both lanes heading into town so that they can make traffic move faster. But on Thika Superhighway, we have moved. Now traffic begins at Garden City coming towards town. So just be patient if you're there. Okay, if you're using Kangundo Road also at the Outer Ring Road interchange, it's also very, very busy. We know Limuru Road is very, very busy along UN Avenue and coming all the way into Muthaiga and into Parklands. It's very, very busy there, but just be patient as well. Westlands is busy as you get into the James Kishuru Road interchange and then coming towards town. It's busy around there. Ngong Road is busy as you approach the Junction Mall. If you're coming from Karen, getting to the Junction Mall, busy. Out of the Junction Mall is also busy. Nothing major to report. We don't know the reason why there's any particular reason for traffic. But you know, if there's any particular reason, please tag us on X at SpiceFM KE.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room,
coming up
the only way to start your day.
To the third hour of the Situation Room. Thank you very much for choosing us as the way to start your day. We are live on Spice FM across the country, on KTN Home across the region, and also globally on Spice FM KE on YouTube and on Facebook. These conversations happen every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. with Eric, Ndu, and CT. Ndu is away today. she and her family have taken their child to join Form 1. You know, it's a family affair. Joining Form 1 is not a small time thing. It's a very, very big milestone in a child's life. And so you want to participate in that as much as you can. And that's what Ndu is there doing today, facilitating that entry into Form 1. It's a big thing, City.
It's a huge thing, man.
It's a big one.
Yes.
Our next guest is Eugene Wamalwa. He is the party leader of the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, DAP-K. You call it DAP Kenya, DAP Kenya. What do you call it, Eugene?
I can call it DAP Kenya or DAP Kenya.
DAP Kenya is fine.
Yes.
We've been calling it
and
DAP
if you want to be dapper, Eric joined the DAP Kenya party.
It's the DAP Kenya.
The youngest party in Kenya. The new kid on the block.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'll be telling us more about it as we have this conversation. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
It's good to have you in the situation
Thank
room.
you very much.
That is what we call the hot seat of the situation room. How does it feel? Does it feel comfortable?
Yes, I'm all right.
Very good. There's a tin in front of you there. It's a kiwi tin.
Yes.
Of course, you have used kiwi.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All along. Now, there's something that kiwi is doing, especially now that we're talking about schools reopening. And people are trying to think, how do I take my children back to school? School fees. Maybe you're sponsoring a child and you're thinking, I need to raise money to send this child back to school. Kiwi are saying, we're also in that mix and we can help you. If you go and purchase kiwi, and this particular kiwi that has this starburst.
Yes.
The starburst is one that indicates this is the one that's participating in this promotion. Buy kiwi, open the lid.
Yes.
Under the lid, you will find a code. This one doesn't have a code. It's for demo purposes. So you find a code.
Yes.
And once you get that code, then you look at the starburst. You dial *459 *5#. You input the code that you'll find there.
Yes.
And then you send it. When you send, the first thing that you do is automatically you receive either airtime or data. And then the second thing that happens is that your number then enters into a draw.
Yes.
When it goes into a draw, every week, 4 winners are getting 35,000 shillings each. That goes towards school fees.
That's great.
For their children or children, you can just choose the child that wants to benefit from this.
Yes.
And the schools they're in, the money will go straight to the school. 35,000 shillings for 4 winners every week since last year around November, and it's still ongoing.
Thank you. I have an old one, so I think I need to get a new one.
All you
that
need
might
to
have
do-
a code.
Go buy the new one with a code, and I'm sure you can sponsor 1 or 2 children.
That would be great.
If they get.
That would be great.
Yeah. It's the way to go. Karibu sana.
Asante.
City usually has the day's proverb.
Yes.
Every week he goes into one African country and then he mines proverbs from that country. This week he has decided that we are going to Nigeria.
Yes.
Our colleague Ndu is not in.
Yes.
She would have read the proverb in Pidgin and then would have asked you to try and translate it to English. But now that she's not here, City will not do Pidgin.
Nope.
He'll only do English.
Yes, and Nigeria is a country rich in so many things. It's rich in people, around 231 million people. But the thing that I find interesting about it, among the many things that are interesting, is the sort of government they have. It's called a Federal Presidential Constitutional Republic. Let me repeat it.
A federal what?
Presidential Constitutional Republic. It's like the USA in terms
It's federal presidential.
presidential, and then republic. Meaning, all those units that in our country would refer to as counties are actually, you call them semi-autonomous if you want, but they're fairly autonomous units. And the governors, they also have governors, very powerful.
Very powerful governors.
Yes. In fact, in that country, it is said, if the government don't like you, you cannot become president. Is that how powerful? So, you can argue that that probably helps create a balance. And it gives people a much needed autonomy to actually determine the destinies of their own people. Anyway, that's a discussion for another day. The proverb. One-legged man is seldom thankful to God until he sees a crippled person.
Say again.
A one-legged man is seldom thankful to God until he sees a crippled person.
Eugene, when you hear this proverb, what comes to mind? What's your interpretation of it?
I think as a Christian, there's a song that says, count your blessings, name them one by one. Then you realize how blessed you are. But sometimes when you have challenges in life, you tend to forget until you meet someone who is more challenged than you. I think it's a very realistic proverb. Yes.
Good. He's put it well. Simply, but very spot on. Yes.
Indeed. As we begin the conversation, please explain the ribbon.
Actually, as you explain the ribbon, please don't forget to explain the tie and the color also. But go on, start with the ribbon.
Starting with the ribbon, the purple ribbon is a ribbon that's being worn by every lawyer in the Republic of Kenya. And it was a call made by the Law Society of Kenya, President Eric Leury. And being lawyers, we have responded by wearing purple ribbons as a form of protest against executive interference in the judiciary, executive threats against the judiciary, and intimidation against the judiciary. And we had our first march last Friday. We all converged at the Supreme Court, and we reaffirmed our oath of office as lawyers. When you're admitted as lawyer Eric, you take an oath to defend the Constitution, the rule of law, and the administration of justice in Kenya. And when we feel this is being threatened, as lawyers, it is our duty to come out to defend the Constitution, the rule of law. When one arm of government becomes so aggressive as to attack the other arm of government, and we have seen this in the Kenya Kwanza administration. They started, first of all, by aggressively courting Parliament, buying members of Parliament who are in our coalition, the Azimio coalition, to move to their side. Because when the results were announced, Azimio had more MPs. We had over 172. Kenya Kwanza had about 165. So they bought 12 MPs, I think, from UDM. They targeted Jubilee, 26 MPs. So by so doing, they were able to capture Parliament and create a tyranny of numbers in Parliament. Through that, they're able to now pass laws and policies that they wish to, enforce. And when that is now challenged in court, they are very, very unhappy. At first, they started also the art of seduction with the judiciary also. You do remember the first thing was that, what would you like? More funding? Yes, I'll give you more funding. What would you like? The judges who have not been appointed. On day one, I'll do that. Then when the cases started coming, challenging the housing levy and other retrogressive policies, that seduction turned into aggression. And we've seen the attacks on the judiciary. And this is why, as lawyers, we came together and we say, no, we must tell William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza regime that they must respect the rule of law. If they have any issues with our courts or any evidence against any judicial officer of misconduct, the Constitution provides for channels for them to challenge that. So that is why you're seeing us with this purple ribbon, and we keep going on and on until William Ruto respects the Constitution. He swore to uphold. And that is the same Constitution as lawyers we swore to defend. So that is the meaning of this purple ribbon and my purple tie.
I get it.
Thank you.
It explains the tie as well.
No, that's a lovely tie. I'm not aware of ties, but yes, I know a good thing when I see it.
Thank you very much.
Mheshimiwa, is there anything wrong with any arm of government speaking out against what it feels would be unfair treatment by another arm of government?
There isn't anything wrong with that. Or we're not saying our courts are infallible, because no human being is. And we in Azimio have criticized them before. You remember the hot air judgment. We were very unhappy with it, but eventually we accepted it as people who respect the rule of law. And just recently, there was also another ruling by the Supreme Court on the issue of homosexuality. Most of us as Christians, as Muslims, we disagreed with that ruling. And we are saying the Supreme Court can be wrong. But also, when it comes to the institution, if you have any issues with the institution or any officer, we are saying, please follow the lay down procedure. You cannot just do carpet bombing of an entire institution to say that, these are corrupt people. No, there could be corrupt elements. So we're saying there's nothing wrong with a positive criticism of any institution. But when there is open aggression aimed at intimidating these institutions, then our democracy is challenged. Because we have a history as a country of our democratic institutions being bastardized, being eroded by dictatorial regimes. You remember during the Nyeri era, we had a very overbearing executive and very feeble legislative and judicial arms of government. And when we look at the current regime, right from William Ruto to all his colleagues, they were formerly, KANU, students of Moi. And during the Nyayo era, what happened could easily happen if we allow them wafuate Nyayo and they take us back there. So as lawyers, as leaders in Azimio, we have said we cannot allow our country to go back to those dictatorial days.
But then, just like you've mentioned, in those old days, there was the law that allowed the executive to play the game that it was playing.
Yes.
Right? For example, the president could appoint and fire judges.
Yes.
Now, the law does not allow the president to appoint and fire judges at will. If there was any transfer, the president could influence even the transfer of judges.
Correct.
Now, there is an independent commission that's in charge of managing affairs of the judiciary. And it's in law. Now, when one arm of government, let's say the executive now, goes to public rallies and churches and out there on rooftops and talks, it's only talk. Unless you're saying that there have been attempts at amending the law so that then the executive gets the powers that the previous executives had to undermine the judiciary.
Actually, if you do recall what happened in 2007-2008, this country suffered a crisis of confidence in its institutions. Two key institutions that were in the eye of the storm were the Judiciary and the Electoral Commission. And you remember when the results were announced, we said we have no faith in this judiciary, court bandia. We took to the streets. And you know what happened? Over 1,300 people lost their lives. Our economy almost collapsed. And we set this country on the path of reforms to, strengthen our institutions, to have in place a new constitution that will ensure the principle of separation of powers is respected. And that is how we have had a very successful run in the judicial reforms we've had. But when we start going back to those days of, bastardizing an institution, we erode public confidence in these institutions. You see, the judges, once they are robbed, they cannot, of course they have their 4x4s also, but they cannot take to the rooftops and answer what was said, say in Nakuru, what was said in Nyeri the other day, what was said in Eldoret. They cannot do that. They are not in a position to come to the public and defend themselves or answer what the Kenya Kwanza people are saying. They speak through their rulings, they speak through their judgments, and we're saying it is unfair for the Kenya Kwanza regime to go on an all-out frontal assault on the judiciary. Those villagers you're talking to start losing confidence in their courts, in their judges. They start looking at this as, court bandia, as we call them, these corrupt people. And it is all about that confidence. And we're not just talking about the locals also. Foreigners who come to invest in this country. It scares away foreigners when we have a country that does not respect the rule of law. The matter is quite serious, Eric, and we're saying the Kenya Kwanza regime is out of order. If they have issues with specific judicial officers, and I've heard the deputy president will be presenting a petition, this is what they should be doing. Let them follow the laid-down procedures by our constitution, by our laws. And I only urge him, Bwana Gachagua, as you go to court on Thursday to present your petition, please tell your boss to follow suit. Let them stop these roadside attacks on the judiciary and present their petitions. And I can tell you there are officers, judicial officers, who have gone through that process. I was the last Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs. And I remember when I was taking over office in 2012, the tribunal was formed against the former Deputy Chief Justice, Nancy Baraza, who was very close to me.
Yeah.
But by the time I entered office, a tribunal had already been formed by President Kibaki, and it was headed by the former Tanzanian Chief Justice. And they looked at the evidence. They found there had been misconduct. Though many of us felt the threshold was too low. She was said to have pinched some lady's nose, and she was removed as Deputy Chief Justice and Vice President of the Supreme Court. So we are saying our laws work, our Constitution works, and we are all bound by that Constitution, including the President. Let them follow it.
You know, as you say this, Mheshimiwa,
yes.
Do we take into consideration that these individuals who are making these pronouncements actually know the rule of law, know what they should do, but choose not to? And if my supposition is correct, then the question is, why do they take this path?
It is impunity. This is one thing that the Kenya Kwanza government has owned. Apart from telling lies here and there, there is total impunity, because by the deputy president saying he's going to go to court to put his petition, it means they know what our constitution provides. They know what they should do, but they are deliberately intimidating the judiciary. It is a deliberate, aggressive move to intimidate. Because at first, when they came in, they were the ones singing about the rule of law. There's no speech they would make without saying the rule of law. But once they started, after capturing Parliament, passing these policies, very oppressive policies on housing levy, forcing Kenyans to pay taxes and on building houses, then once that is challenged, they get very aggressive against the judiciary. They start intimidating even litigants. Yet our law allows anyone in the public interest to go to court and defend that public interest. A fellow like Okiya Omtatah, he may not be a very likable guy, but our constitution says we must nilly-willy defend his right to go to court, to challenge any policy, to challenge any law, or to challenge anyone, including the president himself. So you cannot tell him you are a thug, you are a mkora, because you went to court to challenge my policies or the laws that have been passed. He has that constitutional right to do it. And we're just telling them to stop these bad manners of trying to intimidate everybody, because that is how dictatorships are created, when you say you don't want to be questioned on anything.
Well, if you think that is bad, I'm looking at page 9 of the Star.
Yes.
And there is an article here that refers to the Nandi Senator Samuel Cherargei, who is reported to have said, we will elect LSK leaders friendly to government. We will elect. He's a lawyer, I believe.
This is disaster.
Now, he proceeds to say, the current law society of Kenya is made up of people who are working with those opposed to the government, and that is why the coming elections, we have people who support the government agenda. Saying that is how. Now, when somebody speaks this plainly, you don't need some great prowess analysis. It's quite clear what he's saying.
That's correct. And it is this intolerance that we are fighting. Because it is this intolerance that now creates a dictatorial regime. When someone feels he cannot be questioned and he must have his way, the minute you disagree with him, he says, now we must remove these judges and put friendly judges. Now, for them to even think they can come to the law society and tell us lawyers who should be our president. And the same they would want to do at the Council of Governors. So this is how a dictatorship is created. It's our way or the highway. If you say no to us, we'll crush you. And we've had them even when the media, and we must thank you, the media guys, for being very, very resilient in spite of threats and intimidation. Because we had this same regime. They started by swearing they'll crush the media. Then now they are aiming at, of course, they have already crushed Parliament by capturing and creating an artificial majority. Now they're aiming at crushing any resistance in the judiciary. But as lawyers, we are telling them we will not allow that intimidation to come to the law society. Every lawyer in this country has sworn to defend this constitution and the rule of law and the administration of justice. And for this, we are prepared to go all out. And in all our 47 counties, we'll come out as lawyers next Friday and the following Friday until this dictatorship that is being created by Kenya Kwanza is stopped.
It's a good thing to see lawyers, coming out to defend their profession and also to defend the institution where they work, because the judiciary, that's it. You're officer of the court as an advocate. Then therefore, when the judiciary is attacked, basically they're attacking your profession. Now, that's one side. And then we see politicians. And I've got to ask you this question, Eugene. Is it only the Kenya Kwanza politicians who have attacked the judiciary? Or is it just impunity, as you called it, or bad manners of the political class in this country to go out in public and speak as they will about the judiciary while fully knowing the impact of what they're saying?
I think, to be fair, Eric, we can't say it's only Kenya Kwanza, because even on our side, we have overstepped sometimes, and it's just the bad manners of the political class. But what we are saying is that we every time anyone crosses that line, they must be called to order. And we want to call Kenya Kwanza to order, to tell them to stop this intimidation of the judiciary and these bad manners and this intolerance. If you are dissatisfied by any decision of the court, you appeal against that decision. And with the set system of misconduct, any judicial misconduct being addressed, we have seen, just in the recent past, a judge called Said Chitembwe, a very good friend of mine. I think it was Governor Sonko, former governor, some people who raised issues that there was some corrupt activities he was involved in. And they took him through the process. A tribunal was formed, evidence was tendered, and it was found that indeed there was sufficient evidence to kick him out. He was dissatisfied. He went to the Court of Appeal himself to challenge that decision. Just recently, the Court of Appeal upheld that decision, meaning our constitution works. If you have anything against any judge, please follow the lay-down procedure. But let's stop these bad manners, this intolerance we are seeing from the Kenya Kwanza side.
How can we rein in politicians from these bad manners? Because, Eugene, much as you're the one who's sitting here today, on the other side of the divide, when you're in the executive, those who are on the other side of the divide were sitting the same place, saying exactly the same thing about those who are in power, Eugene Omalo included.
That's why I'm saying...
so how can we make sure that when Eugene lives here, we are not going to have Kipchumba Murkomen next time sitting exactly where you're sitting, saying the kind of things that Kipchumba was saying in 2021 on this seat?
Can we give this thing a reference, Eric? If you recall, the immediate former president declined to swear in a certain number of judges of the Court of Appeal. And he gave his reasons. Now, there are those who postulated and said, well, these are people who will probably not sing the tune that he wants to. But, more importantly, as soon as that government came into power, if you recall, they first targeted the media. It's like they woke up and said, we must make sure that we sit on these people properly so that they do not go around making these unnecessary noises they make.
Correct.
Now, this other government came in and the same thing. So this intolerance, even as we speak about it, now you are not known to make hawkish statements and say things that we can now quote with ease. But the class that you belong to by choice, the political class, are very similar when it comes to their levels of intolerance.
I want to agree with you guys. I don't want to be the Pharisee here with a holier-than-thou attitude. I must say, as a political class, we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory. And we're not just talking about Kenya Kwanza, because we're also guilty of some of these. But we are saying, going forward, we must uphold the rule of law, and we must respect our institutions. I think it's Barack Obama who said that what Africa needs is are not strong men, but strong institutions. Because when we have strong institutions in place, it doesn't matter which side of the divide you are. Justice William Mutunga was reminding us the other day, like when we were in power, he was telling us, the exact things we're saying here. But when you're out of government and you have a vindictive government in place, a vengeful, the only thing that protects you is the law and those strong institutions. Because I can tell you today, even as the Deputy President Gachagua goes to to court to present his petition, you can see it is not that he is really following the law. It is some vendetta about a certain judge who presided over a matter involving him as a person and who froze his 200 million found on some account somewhere. So it's not really about him. It's not really about the country. It's about him. This is vindictiveness. This is vengeance. And even the Bible tells us, vengeance is mine, that says the Lord. But when you have a vengeful government, the last line of defense for every Kenyan is that court. We cannot allow this institution to collapse, because in it we shall find refuge. Whether you're in government now or you're in the opposition tomorrow, we must be able to find equal protection of the law. That we're entitled to. And that's why in our national anthem we say, may justice be our shield and defender. If we start seeing Kenya Kwanza destroying that shield, as Kenyans, we must be worried. Because then between us and tyranny, there will be no shield to defend us.
Okay, let's take a break.
That's why we continue wearing these purple colors.
Time for that break. The Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, the party leader of the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, DAPK, that's what they call it. He says it's also DAP Kenya. It's also it. He has been a cabinet secretary many times, cabinet secretary for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, cabinet secretary for, water and irrigation at some point?
Yes.
Cabinet secretary for devolution, for defense. He's our guest. We're having conversations about governance in this country. Back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It wants tax. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, nin there, ayu markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him, who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical.
Good. And he must blame it on Adam, not because Adam messed up and he was told, no, you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
How's it looking like across the country weather-wise? Nairobi, mostly cloudy day, currently at 17. It's going to rise to 24. Mombasa is mostly sunny, highs of 33. Malindi, partly sunny, highs of 33. It's currently 30. Kisumu, mostly cloudy, highs of 28, currently at 21. Nyeri, sunny day at 25. Nakuru, mostly cloudy day at 25. Kakamega, mostly cloudy at 24. Kampala, Uganda, mostly cloudy at 28. Kinshasa, cloudy at 31. Addis Ababa, sunny at 25. Mogadishu, partly sunny at 33. Lagos, clear skies at 34. If you go to Paris, it's now still that snow alert. 0 degrees is going to rise to 4 and then drop to -4 later. Beijing, China, sunny at 3. It will drop to -8 tonight. Partly cloudy morning in London. 1 degree, it's going to drop to -2 later. And New York, it's clear skies at -4 and it will rise to 0 degree later today.
spice up your life.
Traffic is still looking as bad as it was looking earlier, about 30 minutes ago on Thika Superhighway. It's beginning all the way from Garden City, coming towards town. Kiambu Road is also past DCI headquarters. It begins at Ridgeways, heading in towards town. Very, very busy. But after Pangani, it eases off. And then you get into Wangari Maathai Road, heading in towards town and towards Museum Hill. It's busy, but then it moves. Westlands coming towards town around the address in Westlands. It's busy, then it eases off as you head into the Westlands roundabout. Ngong Road has been busy all day this morning, but it's still busy. And also we're looking at Raila Odinga Way, heading in towards City Mortuary roundabout, also busy. Aerodrome Road, busy. Jogoo Road, busy at the usual areas. Makadara and heading into City Stadium roundabout. And then Landis Road is busy into Haile Selassie. It's also still looking quite busy in Kangundo Road, around Umoja as you approach Outer Ring Road Junction. If there's any major reason for any sort of traffic snarl up, I'd like us to alert everybody else. Please tag us on X at SpiceFMKE.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The Honorable Eugene Omala, former Cabinet Secretary. We're talking about governance of the country. Mheshimiwa, we've got to talk about the National Dialogue Committee and the work that the National Dialogue Committee did. There was a lot of talk prior to this on the need for dialogue as a country, bringing bipartisan people into one particular table, have a conversation and see chart a path forward for prosperity of the country. At the end, there was a report that came out. Of course, you've had issues with the report, but before you tell us the issues that you had with the report, what did you hear from Kenyans as you went round, as you received various submissions from Kenyans?
Kenyans had very serious concerns about their country. And as you remember, after the elections, there were quite some issues. Kenyans took to the streets. We had the Maandamano phase, and there are things that Kenyans wanted addressed. Some of those were touching on electoral justice. Many Kenyans felt that Raila Odinga won this election but was denied victory. If you look at the map of Kenya, out of the original 8 regions, the provinces, Raila Odinga carried 6. William Ruto won in only 2. If you look at the map, there was a small yellow in Central and Rift Valley. But the entire northern Kenya, Ukambani, Coast, Nyanza, Western, it all went blue. There was a blue wave around the country, and there was a persistent feeling that the results were doctored. Of course, what we had was the thinnest president majority ever in our history, the thinnest. And they felt that those servers should be opened to confirm exactly what happened. And it was not an unreasonable request. You remember this happened in Gabon when we had those elections. And when the servers were opened, it was found that the guy who had been declared had actually not won. The guy who had won had 77%, the other one had 23%. But he was the guy declared. And the military took over. In Kenya, we did not want a military coup, and we are democracy. And many Kenyans said we would like to know the truth, for the truth shall set us free. So issues of electoral justice was one of the issues that took Kenyans to the streets. And of course, the rising cost of living was the other issue. And after some point, we actually agreed to sit and dialogue. Because previously we've had challenges. But through dialogue, we've been able to resolve our issues. In 2007, you remember, we eventually had a handshake between President Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga in February 2008. That calmed the country. In The last administration also, we had a handshake with Uhuru and Raila. That brought the country together, united the country. So these are some of the issues that were before us. So when we got to Bomas, there were issues that were framed for discussion, for that dialogue. And there's nothing wrong with maandamano, people coming out to protest, this has happened everywhere. In the recent past, we saw it in France because there were issues to do with the pension laws. In Israel, the Holy Land itself, before the war broke out recently, there were serious demonstrations because of the changes in the judiciary. There was an attempt by the government to take away powers of the Supreme Court, and the Israelis came out and demonstrated. So for these issues that were very dear to the hearts of Kenyans, we wanted to sit around the table and discuss. But of the 5 issues, there were 3 issues that were already before Parliament through a memorandum that had been submitted. And one of those was the Office of Prime Cabinet Secretary, Office of the Leader of Opposition, 2/3 gender, and CDF. So these were already Kenya Kwanza issues. So when we came to Bomas, they said, these are our issues. We want this prioritized. We said from our side, electoral justice, and number 1 issue was cost of living. So we took time, listened to Kenyans, and many Kenyans said we are being overtaxed. We can't make ends meet. We want these taxes reduced. On fuel alone, you came in, the VAT on fuel was at 8%. You walk in as Kenya Kwanza and you double that to 16%. This is what sent fuel prices very high, and they still remain high today. I know that there was a reduction of 5 shillings. Before that, there was another reduction of, was it 3 or 4 shillings? So we are saying this is tokenism. But this government had the capacity to say, because of the current economic situation, we can remove that 16% VAT on fuel, take it back to 8% where Uhuru left it. That, Eric, would bring fuel prices below 200. So this tokenism they're doing is really not helpful to Kenyans. But they can make a deliberate decision to remove some of the taxes, very high taxes that they have put. We'll see relief. And that's what Kenyans wanted. This is why Kenyans went to the streets. And Eric, I can tell you, our friends, when it came to their issues, the 3 issues I've mentioned that are politically expedient to them, they were very quick to agree. But when it came to our issues, the cost of living, they stonewalled. And that is why I was one of those who disagreed with them, and I didn't sign that report. Because I felt we didn't do justice to the single most important issue, that is the cost of living. To every Kenyan. Every Kenyan is feeling it. Even as your colleague takes her kid to school today, parents are struggling. Electricity rates are going up. We were told last year you will not see electricity, going up. In January, we had William Ruto say this. Immediately, they went up. The tokens are shrinking. Now, this January, again, we're being told there's another adjustment. So we are looking at a regime that is totally aloof, totally insensitive to the outcry of its citizenry. And the primary issue that took us to Bomas, which was the issue that took Kenyans to the streets, has not been addressed.
Was not addressed.
It was not addressed. And up to now, more and more taxes are being raised. So
was that your main issue of contention with the report?
At Bomas, yes. At Bomas. And we disagreed on it. But some of my colleagues felt, though they had given into some of the issues, we can take half a loaf. They say heri nusu shari kuliko shari nzima. Sometimes half a loaf is better. But for some of us, we took the stand that as long as the issues touching on the wananchi of Kenya that took them to the streets have not been addressed, we will not relent.
Your co-chair for those talks, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, sat where you're seated a couple of weeks ago. And we asked him that question. We asked him, so a report has come out, some members have signed, some have not signed. He told us it's Eugene Wamalwa who did not sign. And this is what he told us what happened. He said, when you went for that retreat in Machakos County, you all sat in the meetings. You all agreed on the contents of the final report. And on the last day, you excused yourself because you needed to go to Rwanda to attend a meeting. And you said, I'm going to Rwanda, but you guys, once you finish, principally, I'm with you in what we've agreed. He was surprised when he heard that you've come back and you've said you disagree with that report. He says that was disingenuous of you. That you had agreed in principle to everything up until the last minute when you said you have to leave the country. Is that true?
No, that is not correct. First of all, we had 2 retreats, actually 3. And these retreats came as a result of the hot issue of cost of living, being too hot in Bomas.
It remained contentious.
So they said, let us take a retreat. First, we went to Naivasha. At Naivasha, we disagreed. In fact, if Kimani Ichung'wah was right, was truthful, he would have said yes, or Malwa walked out on this issue. We adjourned it and came back to Bomas, and they said they were going to bring the CS in charge of National Treasury and the experts to now look at what taxes can be lowered. When the gentleman came, he gave us a very long lecture on economics. He's a professor, so we. But on the issues of removal of any tax, they stonewalled. So again, we had to go for another retreat. That's when we went to Machakos. In Machakos, they said they could remove 3 shillings on kerosene. We said, now you're talking. At least you've started listening to what Kenyans want. But you remember, once they doubled the VAT on fuel, prices went up. When Uhuru Kenyatta left, we were at 159 per litre on petrol. And now we are over 200. When we increased on kerosene alone, we increased by 33 shillings. Now, if you're removing only 3 shillings out of 33, that Kenyan, in the village, poor people still use kerosene. And if you are removing 3 shillings and you had added 33, it is tokenism. That, on that account again, we disagreed. And I led a walkout in Machakos. So if Kimani Ichung'wah is honest, he should say again, it's this or Malwa. In fact, they used to call me a hardline on the issue of cost of living. We walked out. It's just that we didn't want to publicize this, that the talks were breaking down, that Kenya Kwanza had refused to lower any taxes. And eventually we went to the Hilton Hotel. And the good professor was called back again because when there was a walkout at Stony Yard in Machakos, they pleaded and said, no, give us a last chance. We bring back our CS to see what taxes can be lowered. And by then, at the Hilton, I was leaving. I had another engagement. So I was communicating with my colleagues. And my position had been made public. I said this, if you look at the speech I made in Luanda in Vihiga County. I said, if they're not going to deal with the issue of cost of living, there will be no deal. I will not sign. I repeated this statement when we were in Mwingi, in a church where the former president attended. It was Harambe. And the people of Kambani told us, please, if they're only going to create offices and not address the issue that is touching on our lives, don't sign that report. And I pronounced myself on that.
What was your main proposal?
You've
mentioned
proposals.
VAT
First of all, Eric, had they even just said, okay, we need to raise revenue, so we have to provide the services. If we are to just say on VAT alone, let's take it back to 8%. When things improve, we can always, raise it back to 16. That by itself, in fact, those are some of the issues we said, okay, just 2-3 issues. That was one of our. They refused completely. And as we speak today, I saw some celebrating that you see the cost of living is going down now. EPRA has said 5 shillings. William Ruto himself said he has no control over EPRA and the 5 or 10 shillings.
The formula.
But he has control over which taxes. He's the one who said the Finance Act 2023 must go through. And he threatened Parliament. He said, I want to see which member of Parliament is going to say no to that finance bill. Out of the threats, the Finance Act was passed because he demanded it must be passed without any comma or anything being removed. So on that, he can do something. Let him not lie to Kenya. There's nothing I can do. This is a global crisis. This is not a global issue. This is not an Israeli or Palestine issue. The Israelis didn't create housing levy for us. The Israelis didn't add, this VAT to. It is Kenya Kwanza. And we are saying, Bwana Ruto, just take us back to where Uhuru was. When things improve,
you'll come back here.
Yes, and we have done this before because the housing issue was one of the big four agendas. It was one of the pillars. But when under Uhuru Kenyatta, the court stopped the housing levy, we respected it. We backed off. What is it that is making this a matter of life and death issue? Kenyans must pay this. Anyone who is going to stop my policy, I will take them to heaven. Mambo ni matatu. We can't lead a country like that. So on that, we disagree, Eric.
Mheshimiwa, I've got to ask you, because you are a cabinet secretary in Uhuru Kenyatta's government.
Yes.
When Uhuru proposed to bring VAT on fuel, he had proposed to bring it at 16%.
Yes.
And then there was pushback from the minority side of parliament that now leveled it at 8%.
Correct.
What was the thinking that was in cabinet when you were proposing to bring the fuel VAT at 16% then? Was it to raise revenue? Was it?
Yes, it was to raise revenue, but also Uhuru, as a president, was a listening president. And when he would hear the outcry of Kenyans, he would tell his CS National Treasury, hii kitu yako wananchi wamekataa, rudisha tu. And we'll take it back to 8. The fellows, Kimani, who sat here, was the majority leader. Was the budget committee chair.
Yep.
He's the guy who did that with the then CS National Treasury. Duale himself was the majority leader. We listen to Kenyans. Of course, you're allowed to create laws, ensure your policies are carried. But when the situation is so dire as it is now, you also listen to Kenyans and say, okay, we can leave this for now. When the situation, the economy improves, we'll bring it back. Kenya, the world is not ending today. You cannot create all these taxes and heap them all at once on an already overtaxed populace. You can't do that.
If you remember, even at that point, Kenyans were still crying because you were moving from 0 to 16%.
Yes.
Even when you settled at 8%, Kenyans felt, surely, it's still pain at the pump, even that 8%. Why didn't you want to go back to 0%?
Well, we listened at least and said, let's create a win-win situation. And that's why we dropped from 16 back to 8. Today, William Ruto can tell his good professor, the National Treasury, if it 3 bob, 5 bob, Kenyans are crying too much. On this alone, had they actually just dropped that 16% alone, I would have signed that report because it will have brought the relief Kenyans were seeking. Even at 200 and something, I know there are those who are saying, things are now okay. It's not okay. If we're to remove those punitive taxes, we can go back to 160. We can have about between 20 and 30 shillings removed, not 3 bob, not 5 bob. And this is what we pushed for in Bomas. And the truth is, and I will look every Kenyan in the eye, we failed to achieve that agenda. Of course, there are those that we succeeded. We are saying, let us carry this. But we must go back to the people on the issue of cost of living and tell them we have a Zakayo in Kenya who wants more and more taxes, and he's coming for you, the farmer. He's now introducing a 5% on everything you're making as a farmer. They're going to come for you. If you have your cow, you have your goat, you have your camel, they're introducing all sorts of ridiculous taxes that are going to squeeze even the little the farmer is making. Of course, with one hand, they're saying, we've given you subsidized fertilizer. But with the other hand, they're taking away the little you're making on top. So you're left with nothing. And this is why we are saying, even Balaam, when he pushed the donkey too hard, it spoke. Kenyans are very soon going to speak, Eric. They have been pushed. The donkey punda imechoka, sasa imeanguka iko chini. One day soon is going to speak.
Your coalition leader Raila has said, okay, There are many issues with this report, but let's go on ahead with it. The leader of minority in the National Assembly of Pure and I was saying the other day that report is going to be implemented. Yes. Are you still vehemently opposed to the report?
Mine was a dissenting view, but the matter is now in Parliament, and I believe a decision will be made by Parliament. There are some good things in the report. There are some things that we failed to get in. On those, we live to fight another day. And this is the approach we are taking now so that we transition this struggle to the next phase.
Okay.
We are going back to the people. Thank you.
Save for that one issue of the cost of living, what is this other good thing that's in that report?
I think on the issue of the IEBC, we didn't get everything we wanted in terms of electoral justice, but reconstitution of the IEBC panel was one good thing that was there. And I would say that probably that is one thing we succeeded. But the other issues were their issues, which we gave into. It was a negotiation, and they were very passionate about them, and we gave into them.
We'll continue the conversation shortly, if you'll allow us. Let's first get into the news, and then we continue the conversation for a couple of minutes. There are very many questions as well on our social media. We can see them on YouTube, on Facebook, on X. Very many questions and comments that are coming in. A conversation with the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, who is the party leader of the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, DAP-K. He is also a former cabinet secretary. He was also a member of the National Dialogue Committee that came up with the report, and that's what we've been talking about. We'll be talking about the sanity of our politics in this country in the next hour, from political parties to engagement of various parties in national conversations. Keep it here for this and more. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation on SpiceFM, on KTN Home, on YouTube, on Facebook. We'll also be live on KTN News in the next hour. Good morning to you, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Kisii Governor Simba Arati has rubbished reconciliation efforts spearheaded by Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu, even as Catholic Bishop Joseph Mairura warned against violence. Machogu Friday convened talks to reconcile Arati with his political nemesis, South Mugirango MP Silvanus Osoro, following a spate of violence. The CS had scheduled the meeting for this month with Bishop Mairura, among other 3 clerics invited to help mediate at a time Arati has claimed that his life is in danger. The violence erupted at 2 separate events organized by Governor Arati on January 6th and January 8th. During the January 6th incident, Arati was attending a funeral in South Mugirango when individuals with alleged ties to MP Osoro disrupted the event, openly firing arrows at mourners despite the presence of police. Machogu has therefore said that following the concerning cases, local leaders agreed to hold a consultative meeting and iron out any ongoing tiffs. An homegrown institution championing for interest of African nations, the Afro-Asia Institute for Strategic Studies, has commenced a conference to address the perennial conflict in the Horn of Africa and other East African nations. The conference has assembled experts from Kenya, Somalia, Ethiopia, Eritrea and Sudan to share their perspectives and experiences. Afro-Asia Institute Executive Director Abdi Wahab Sheikh Abdi Samad said that there is need to harness peace in the region to promote growth.
We have to have what they call researchers from the African continent. Then we are going to show the world the African perspective, how the thinking of African society, and in fact we are going to also, advocate for the, coexistence of African society. The geopolitics of the world is drastically changing, so we must bring together African researchers, African scholars, African academia, journalists. We bring on board all of them so that we like to picture we are going to remove the gloomy picture of Africa, so that this African society they can produce their own research. We have to have what they call an African perspective, an African thinking, an African forward thinking, so that at least we are going to advise the policymakers accordingly.
Residents of Baringa worried following the brutal murder of the deputy school head at Chemoi Primary School only days after 5 other people were killed in the area. The locals say it is a blow to the community, as the teacher was the reason the school had reopened. The teacher was shot dead by suspected bandits. The locals decry the lack of security despite there being heavy security deployment in the area. They are now calling on the government to do more and tame the banditry permanently.
Chemoi ilikuwa ni shule tayari ilikuwa imefungwa, lakini kwa sababu ya ile pendo wake kuwa shujaa katika eneo hilo, ndio mnaona shule ya Tuluki inaendelea.
Hii tu tumepoteza watu 5 ya familia hiyo, tumepoteza mtu wa 6 ya hiyo familia. So we as a family, we are in a mourning state.
I lost my dad, anaitwa Prekum, and then my 2 uncles. Sasa nimekuja tena Baringo nikapata the same problem. So nataka tu niulize President, bado hao ni bandits ama ni watu wanawinda watu?
Residents in Narok County have been put on high alert of likely floods that might be occasioned by the ongoing heavy rainfall in upper parts of Narok North. In a communique from the Narok County Department of Disaster Management, residents have been urged to exercise caution and be apprised of local weather reports and official announcements. Residents living in low-lying or flood-prone areas have been advised to consider moving to higher ground temporarily to avert possible danger. A 28-year-old woman died after allegedly jumping off the balcony of her third-floor apartment in Nairobi's Langata area. The caretaker of Ascot Apartments told police that the lady, who lived alone, jumped off the balcony some minutes before 6 a.m., attracting the attention of neighbors. When they had a third, police found the deceased body lying at the back of the apartment block. They termed the incident as a case of suspected suicide. And a 32-year-old woman is being held at Oyugis police station in Rachonyo South Sub-County on suspicion of killing a newborn child and burying her in a farm in Kawiti village, Kamuma Sub-Location. The suspect was arrested after neighbors became suspicious when they did not see the 1-day-old baby. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Yep, Thika Superhighway, it's starting to improve. Now it's beyond the Kenya School of Monetary Studies around KCA University, heading towards town, but it's still very, very busy. Kiambu Road is now come back now to Muthaiga Golf Club, but it's moving. After you get to Pangani and then you get to that underpass, it moves onto Wangari Maathai Road. And that gets busy slightly as you approach Museum Hill. And then after that, it moves. Uhuru Highway is clear. Expressway, of course, is moving. Makadara, that's on Jogo Road. There's some issue there around the Makadara train station. We have seen now it's clear that Kangunda Road is now moving into the Outer Ring Junction smoothly. Ngong Road heading in towards town is only busy as you approach the All Saints Cathedral getting into town. That's around the Serena Hotel. Westlands into town, it's still busy around Safaricom heading in towards town. But then the other areas are okay. Limuru Road, you know this. It's busy, busy, busy. Also, the construction works that's been ongoing there, plus it's been raining. You expect that the road is going to be slippery. Careful as you drive. Good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
9 on to the final hour of the Situation Room this morning. We still have the Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, who is the party leader, Democratic Action Party of Kenya, as our guest this morning. Mheshimiwa Wamalwa, we told you about Kiwi, just reminding you, if you go and buy Kiwi and you get this one with the Starburst, make sure that then you open the lid and you follow the instructions. Dial *459 *5#, enter the code under the lid, and immediately you will receive airtime or data, but also you get into a draw that could win 35,000 shillings for you to a student of your choice in a school of your choice. Fantastic. It's a good thing. 4 winners every week. Something else that we didn't tell you is about Maramoja Taxi. It's a new taxi app. It's a Kenyan taxi app. It's called Maramoja. It's available on all Play Store, App Store, right? If you go and download it, you use it. It's very, very good. City has used it and he's been very, very happy about it.
Did you say Maramoja Tax?
It's called Maramoja Taxi.
Oh, not tax.
Not tax.
No, we'll be talking too much taxes.
Maramoja Taxi, like taxi. City.
No, these are days of Zakaya and taxes. Sorry. Everything you hear, you think it's tax.
No, it's a taxi app.
Taxi app.
Yes, you Google and you come across Maramoja Transport Company.
Yes.
And there's a blue app.
Yes.
Now that app is just like any other app. Registration is simple. Phone number, email address. That's just about it. But what I found particularly interesting was when you go to a section where you now want to travel, you've been told to proceed, you get pictures the size of almost the entire screen of your phone. And you flip and you find pictures of the individuals who are the drivers who are nearby, where they are. You're told the make of the vehicle, the experience of the driver. And when you then say you choose the one, they call you back and ask you, are you at this and this place? Yes. What time do you want us to be there? And you say the time. And when they get there, they actually, we're here. Do you want us to wait? And you say, for how long? But at the same time, you get 2 codes on your phone. You don't know what they're for until you enter the taxi. And then you're told, you have to read that code to me and I have to enter it before we can leave. When you arrive at your destination, they'll tell you there's a second code, you have to give it to me. That's what will conclude the journey. But I am a talkative fellow, and so I always engage the people I'm with. And one of the things the taxi drivers have told me is they have found this app to be the app that pays them the best of the many apps that they have. And there are many. So I said, well, if the individual who benefits from this as a driver is telling me this, then I will take their word for it. Yes. So in many, many ways, it is a good app.
That's great.
Yes.
It works very well. Maramoja Taxi. City, please remind Mheshimiwa the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs, as we have said for the whole of this week, come from the country of Nigeria, the Republic of Nigeria. A one-legged man is seldom thankful to God until he sees a crippled person.
One-legged man is seldom to God until he sees
a one-legged person,
a crippled person.
When he's a crippled person, then he realizes I'm not doing too badly. Yes.
More here.
Yes.
We're talking about bad manners in our politics, and you've mentioned it many times. And we have laws that were designed to make sure that we have sanity in our politics. The Political Parties Act, for example, and other attendant pieces of legislation are supposed to make sure that we have some sanity in how we govern our politics and how we govern and behave in our political parties. One of the issues that we have heard you complaining from Azimio is what you felt was, insanity and bad manners of politics, where those that have power seem to be raiding those on the minority side. And you said, this has got to stop. But was it illegal?
It's not illegal, but it's undermining our democracy, because democracy is really about letting the people decide. And if the people of Kenya decided that Azimio should have more members of parliament, it meant there are things that they saw in these leaders. And they expected that the numbers they have given Azimio should speak to their issues through parliament, through legislation, through oversight. But when you now subvert the will of the people, and the hallmark of a dictator is about subversion, subjugation, and eventually, being able to dictate. And the intolerance we are seeing in Kenya Kwanza now, I was just listening to the leaders speaking in E10.
And eroding the powers of institutions.
Yes, eroding the powers of institutions. Because, in fact, the one word they don't like is independent. Independent judiciary. They don't like that. Because they would like a situation as it was in the Nyayo days, where we have an overbearing executive and the feeble judiciary and parliament, where the executive is able to dictate to these institutions. This is what I want passed today. Members of parliament are just rubber stamps. No meaningful debate takes place in parliament. You're just told, going by the mood of the house, call upon the mover to... And there's no debate, because you have been told, I want to see which member of parliament will oppose my policy, my bill. That is dictatorship. And we are saying these bad manners that we have created. And we end up creating an artificial tyranny of numbers. And we end up creating a tyrant. Through those tyranny of numbers, you are able to churn out whatever policy, whatever law you want, and that is rubber stamped. So the last line of defense is really the judiciary. And as we said, one of the Irish statesmen, Edmund Burke, once said that the worst kind of tyranny is the tyranny of bad laws. So when you have bad laws being churned through a parliament that is under capture, then the only place we can go to is the judiciary. So we have this situation. Members of parliament who were elected on Azimio have now crossed to the other side and given these Kenya Kwanza the cover to pass whatever laws they want. And we are saying that political parties act. There are areas that needed strengthening, and these are some of the issues we're discussing at Bomas. Fidelity to multipartyism. If we are not careful, we are seeing Bwana Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza government as an existential threat to our multi-party democracy. We can very easily end up in a single party state.
But then, Mheshimiwa,
yes,
aren't you being unfair to the politician William Ruto?
Yes.
The people who have bad manners, are they not those that were elected under this Azimio banner parties who accept to kowtow to Kenya Kwanza?
You know, Eric, we
I mean, were they forced to do it?
No, they were bribed.
And if they were forced to do
they
it,
were
then
bribed.
why didn't they complain about it?
You listen to the chief whip, Osoro, saying how he bribes his colleagues to do his bidding. This is the bad manners we are talking about. In this country, we now have a law against bribery. So you can't say the bad manners is only on the side of the one who receives a bribe. The giver of that bribe also is engaging in the bad manners.
Actually,
this is what we're saying.
My argument is that
there is a
you
giver.
only seem to focus on the supposed giver of the bribe.
Yes.
The receiver of the bribe, who is in your household, who is a member of your household,
yes,
has such loose morals that they can receive.
Correct.
Tells me about the household they've come from.
Eric, I do agree with you. It takes two to tango, and the bad manners is on the side of the giver and the receiver, who actually abandons his party and for selfish interest crosses to the other side without going back to the people who gave him that mandate. So what we are saying is that we need to strengthen our laws to ensure that anyone who does that is able to only carry on being a member of parliament with a fresh mandate of the same people, so that we create fidelity to multipartyism. And the Jubilee Party has been targeted, ODM, all our parties, including my party. But we are saying we need to strengthen the law. Like in the olden days, we had a law that provided that there must be a by-election where one crosses the floor. So we would like to see that in days to come, to strengthen our multi-partyism. Let whoever crosses or defects to another party go back to the people. Let there be a by-election. If the people agree with you that yes, we elected you on an Azimio ticket, but we have accepted your move to the Kenya Kwanza side, and we give you our vote again, then we'll have no problem with that.
Are you saying the current laws are insufficient?
They are, because there is a provision that where one is deemed, it's a very vague term.
Yeah.
So we need strengthening, and there are clear proposals for amendment, and we are asking our parliament to take it up. Because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Today we are saying we're the ones crying because we're in the opposition. If we don't stop it, Kenya Kwanza will also be crying because next time it will be them. So let's have a law that restores political hygiene in our politics, and even in the conduct of any elected member of parliament as a state officer, they must act in a way that brings honor to the office, and that is provided in the law.
You know what I always find interesting is how it is the conversation among the politicians of the country are so similar. I'm going to explain what I mean by I find it strange that it's so similar. It depends on whether you're in government or whether you're not in government. See, looking at what you mentioned earlier on with regards to the former president of the US, Barack Obama, and what he said about strong institutions. And what occurred to me, institutions don't build themselves, people build them.
Correct.
So the word strong here, when associated with leaders, must come into play. So it's not strong men or strong women, but strong leaders. Because if you have strong leaders, they're leaders who are willing to put their foot down, who are willing to make a stand, who are willing to accept wrong, who are willing to change, who are willing to even admit they're wrong now. Those, in my mind, are the signs of strength. But the similarity in conversation comes in here. Most of the people we have in parliament or we've had in government are not really that different. They haven't changed that much in the last 10, 15 years, not really. They've been in one side, they've been together in one party, together in one sphere. They're people who actually know each other very, very well. Now, the government that you are a minister in, the previous government, we forget that we had issues with the taxes that government was levying on us as well. The government had 3 trillion budget, and yet KRA was only going to collect something like 1.7 trillion. So the question was, where is the money coming from? The only difference that we saw with the Uhuru government was when it became apparent that some of the projects that had been budgeted for, maybe white elephant projects, he actually halted and said, okay, why don't we stop? Apart from this agenda, four agendas, or the 4 principal projects that I'd mentioned, let's stop and see how else we can go.
Like which one?
Sorry?
Like which one did he hold?
Oh, every other project except those 4. There was a time he actually said 400 billion shillings worth of projects actually were brought to a halt because he said, want us to review these things.
In the Uhuru administration?
Yes, in the Uhuru administration. But you see...
Yeah, and there are quite a number, actually, you're right, that were stopped. We had the Aror, Kimwerer, dams, Itare dams, there were quite a number. And on the housing, when we were challenged in court, actually, we had to say, okay, then it has to be voluntary. This is some of the things that we're actually saying. It doesn't mean everything is cast in stone. The fact that you have passed this law, this policy, you can, fall back.
But at the same time, remember, it's the same government who had ignored the World Bank advice on upgrading the meter gauge railway at the cost of 16 billion to get it to the standard gauge, but instead chose the more expensive route. So you see, when we look at the decisions that are made in government, the question I'm asking is it that when you are now no longer in a seat of power and you reflect back, you wonder, why didn't we do this thing which was clear? What is it about being in power that blinds leaders to doing what they probably know they should do? What is it that holds them hostage? Because you get the impression sometimes someone wants to do certain things and they just can't. What is it?
I think it's the power itself. It's like an aphrodisiac. power, like they say,
it does
corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
It does stuff.
There is some loss of touch with reality when you get into those beautiful air-conditioned offices and tinted windows. You
and those lifts that only you can go into. Those ones,
and you lose touch with the ordinary mwananchi when you don't walk on the streets and listen to them, or when you're driving, your window is up, you don't hear what they're saying. So with time, you lose touch with the mwananchi, then the insensitivity is there. And you remember, like the Marie Antoinette talk during the French Revolution, there are people at the gate shouting, they don't have bread. They said, then why don't they eat cake?
But you know,
but she didn't know the reality out there. And today, those in government, I think with the benefit of now being of hindsight and being in the opposition now, I see clearer. And I see the mistakes they are making. They think they're doing very well. But out there, and it is happening. It happened in Nakuru the other day when they ran into the Wananchi who are not ready to listen to them. The anger is building. It's palpable. But they are not hearing. They're not listening. They're just adding more and more taxes. And they think they're doing very well.
You know, Mheshimiwa, I have to applaud you for being that honest. I didn't think I would actually hear a leader admitting in public that you lose touch with reality. And once power seeps in, and the joys of those powers and those vehicles, those blaring horns who disregard all road laws and whatever, it's good. But my point is, reality is that very many people who are in this government were in the previous government.
Yes.
So that excuse will not work. They should have learned. Or is it that the continuum of power and the dragging effect that it has continued to heighten levels? Why am I saying this? If there are problems now, we've been looking at the comparison of what Uhuru spent in his first year, what Ruto spent in his first year, and this government is surpassing Uhuru's spending. But we complained about Uhuru's spending. We complained about Uhuru's borrowing. We said this was going to get us into trouble. We said that government was very lavish. Now, so you see, when we are in a situation like the one we are in, where we are looking at the effects of a continuum, but now Uhuru was fortunate enough to have inherited a government that had some stringent measures, so there was a lot of wiggling room. This government inherits a government that doesn't have very much wiggling room, and yet they continue with the same traits of the previous government. Now, how do you solve such a problem? Because these are the members of your tribe, the political class.
I think the only solution to that is the citizen. And it is that citizen who has the ultimate kiboko to wake up those fellows from their slumber, because the insensitivity continues, the mistakes continue. It's just the same forest, same monkeys, different forest situation, and this is where we are. But very soon, I think, seeing what happened in Nakuru, the outrage that was displayed, I think they were also in shock. It also happened somewhere in Nandi when the CS who was in charge of these high fuel prices and everything was shouted down in front of all of them. He could not speak in his own home area. It has happened to several other ministers in Nyahururu. They're beginning to feel the reaction of the people. So the people hold the trumping card ultimately, and for a system that remains insensitive, as it was, I was giving the example of Marie Antoinette, when you're out of touch with reality to the level that you don't see a revolution at your door, then when it hits you, you know where it has come from. But something needs to be done. And I agree with you that even under Uhuru we made mistakes. But one thing I can tell you, Uhuru was a listening leader. Sometimes used to do very strange things that people might not know. There were times when Uhuru would drive himself out there without his people, and you would find him talking to people.
Listen to the people.
He would go to Mukuru Kwanjenga, enter those slums. He listens to the people, and he's being told, our biggest problem is our hospital. We all go lining up Kenyatta National Hospital. And he brought over 20 hospitals in those slum areas. And with NMC, we're able to open up roads into areas that are not. And at night, he would drive himself and talk to the people and listen. And he would come and tell us, we have to change this. Hii kitu mnasema ati VAT must be 16% because the entire East Africa iwe uniform. Let's go back to 8%. So we need a listening president. But when you have someone who knows everything, who will not take advice from anyone, and who led us down the garden path at Bomas, that come, let's talk about these issues. But when it comes to the main issue, you refuse to talk about it, there's a problem.
Let's take a break again, 28 after 9. The Honorable Eugene Omalwa is our guest this morning. Let's take a look at traffic and then we come back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay. Limuru Road is still very, very busy around Muthaiga. This is where there's the road construction going on. It's busy. Heading into Karura Forest, very busy on both sides. Be patient. Thika Superhighway is also still very busy into Survey. Kiambu Road has cleared now. Westlands is clearing now, but the traffic is getting busier around the mall on Westlands. Ngong Road is now good. Mombasa Road is now good. Jogoo Road is only busy near Donholm and at Makadara. But then the rest of the roads are not looking so bad.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. The Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority has cut the prices of super petrol and diesel by 5 shillings as well as kerosene by 4 shillings and 82 cents. A litre of petrol in Nairobi will now cost 207 shillings and 36 cents, diesel 196 shillings and 47 cents, and kerosene 194 shillings and 23 cents. Fuel prices slumped after the average landed cost of imported super petrol, diesel and kerosene fell by 2.4%, 9.06% and 4.33% per cubic meter in December from November last year respectively. The government is implementing robust measures to foster industrial growth and ensure it is commensurate with the country's gross domestic product. President William Ruto said the government is equipping special economic zones with the necessary facilities to attract investors. He noted that these will attract foreign direct investment, drive industrial growth and increase exports. The Kenya Wildlife Services has said that it plans to translocate 21 female and male black rhinoceros to Loisaba Conservancy, located about 190 kilometers north of the national capital of Nairobi, before the end of January to boost the population of the iconic species. Erastus Kanga, Director General of the KWS, said the black rhinoceros will be coming from Nairobi National Park, Olpejeta Conservancy and Lewa Wildlife Conservancy. He added that the black rhinoceros were on the brink of extinction 3 decades ago, but since then the numbers have climbed so rapidly that they are overcrowding their sanctuaries. 4 trucks were impounded by the Agriculture and Food Authority for trying to smuggle avocados to Tanzania. Officials from the AFA on a tip-off laid ambush on the individuals at the Namanga border post in Kajiado County. The trucks are now being held at the Namanga border post and the drivers will be arraigned in court for contravening the provisions of the Crops Act 2013 and Crops Regulations 2020. And a new testing facility has been opened in Nairobi to issue licenses for Kenyan nurses looking to work in countries such as Canada and America. Redicare Staffing Africa Limited will offer the National Council Licensure Examination registered nurses a nationwide examination for the licensure of nurses. State Department for Diaspora Affairs Principal Secretary Roslyn Njogu said that the facility will play a pivotal role in preparing nurses for worldwide job opportunities. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Eugene Omalo. Mheshimiwa, as we talk today about the current situation in the country, we many times look back at how did we get up here? How did we get to the point where we are at today? And then looking over the last many years, we see that there was a journey towards where we are. We are right now saddled with heavy debt. The situation in the country is such that a lot of the money that's generated in terms of government revenues is going towards paying debt. And there are those that have said this debt was as a result of a government that had an insatiable appetite for debt. And then those that say, if you look back at the amount of debt that was borrowed in those 10 years of the Uhuru administration, 6 trillion or thereabouts, do you see a corresponding development that the money was used into? Sitting back and looking back, do you feel that the administration of Uhuru from 2013 to 2022 managed this economy well?
I was privileged to be a minister in that administration, and I served from the Ministry of Water and Irrigation to devolution to defense. And I would say that under President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, we worked very, very well as a cabinet. Sometimes I get surprised when I listen to William Ruto speak. It's as if he's a stranger in Jerusalem. I mean, he was part of this administration throughout, the second in command. He never missed a single cabinet meeting. And he was very influential. In fact, at some point, there was this rumor that, a joke that, who used to drink a lot, and it was Ruto who was running government. So sometimes when I listen...
Was it true?
No, it was a rumor. I mean, it was a joke, but I can say it was a bad joke because President Uhuru Kenyatta was a very serious president. And today, those who are with us in that same government, because it was not an Uhuru government, it was a Uhuruto. We campaigned on that platform. We actually ran that government. They were equal partners. They shared almost half-half. And most of his closest allies now, who are with him in his administration, Kimani Ichung'wah was a chair budget. So all these matters that we are talking about, he's aware of. And Adan Duale, his right-hand man also, was the majority leader. So we can't say it's Uhuru who did this and Ruto or Duale or Kimani Ichung'wah or Eugene Omalo did not. We did it together. Overall, I can say we delivered as a government. If you look at what was done, since the Indian coolies built the railway, we hadn't had even 1 single kilometer of new rail laid in this country. We are talking of a brand new SGR, almost 600 kilometers. We are talking of over 12,000 kilometers of a new tarmac. That is money. We are talking of a new phase of Nairobi. When you hear of Nairobi being one of the best cities in the world, today is a picture of the expressway, and you are talking of adding money to schools. I think we're giving about 12,000, and now it went to 22,000. As we are looking at how we can make basic education accessible, affordable, we contributed. And in fact, in Africa, we were celebrated as one of the few African countries to achieve 100% transition from primary to secondary. All these are achievements. When you look at the connectivity in terms of electricity in the rural areas, we were able to do quite a bit. So Uhuru, as a president, made his mark. You can say whatever you want about Uhuru Kenyatta. Of course, he borrowed. Those of us who are now accusing him, we said he will never borrow. Today, in the second year, they have borrowed more. In this period, they were saying they will never borrow. But the projects they are still commissioning today are Uhuru projects. We can't say there's anything we can see that they have done with the borrowing they're doing. We are seeing very high, extravagant spending. This is one area that we recommended they need to look at Bomas so that they manage their spending. You've watched State House change. This week, it's looking this way. Next week, it's looking different. Cabro looking this way. Now we have billions going into renovation of a building. When CDF, parents are going to school, MPs are up in arms, they need to give bursaries to students, and here you are spending billions renovating a house that you barely stay. So we're saying, Eric, we did our part. Yes, we borrowed, but 10 years of Uhuru, if you are to look at the achievements, we achieved more than other administrations.
Was it worth 11 trillion shillings?
I think this money borrowed did not go to Ishaweri, to Uhuru's house. This money is in the projects I'm talking about. The dams we have built. Today, if you go to Kirinyaga, Thiba Dam, Eric, I just want to give an example. I was the Minister for
water and irrigation.
And we have Thiba Dam that is going to transform this country. We have Thwake Dam that is almost complete in Ukambani that will create a new bread basket in Ukambani. Last week, I was in Budalangi. The Lower Nzuya project, we're talking over 5 billion from the World Bank. I can tell you for the first time in over 20 years, when there was flooding in Tana River and everywhere, normally we'd have flooding, and Budalangi would be the first. The dikes we built under the Lower Nzuya, over 5 billion put in. Today, the people of Budalangi are happy. The Sigiri Bridge that was built. So we have infrastructure put in place that is unprecedented. And this costed money. The money was borrowed, yes, but the money was spent well. In this regime, money is being borrowed, but where is it going?
So what you're saying, unequivocally, is that the money that was borrowed in the 9 years of Uhuru Kenyatta's presidency was for development, and it was prudently acquired, prudently utilized.
Correct, Eric.
That every shilling can be accounted for.
Correct, Eric.
In the about 7 trillion shillings that was borrowed then.
We borrowed to develop. It was not for consumption. That is what we did. And I think 5 years of this administration, people are going to be yearning, wishing Uhuru Kenyatta would come back. I'm telling you.
One of your friends, I'm sure, in the opposition now, Jimmy Wanjege, has been here a number of times. And one of his choruses is that what we have is odious debt. Debt that we should not be paying. Why? Because it wasn't properly acquired through the proper legal instruments, and it wasn't properly utilized through the proper legal instruments. Do you think that we have odious debt?
It is a matter that I've also heard the good Senator of Busia talk about. And I think it should just be talk. It's a matter that can be challenged even in court if anyone has evidence that this is the position. I think we have channels through which that can be proven. But having served in this administration and also having served in the previous administration of Kibaki, I believe after the Nyeri era, the change of regime to Kibaki brought this country from ground zero. And the 10 years of Uhuru Kenyatta, we build on a firm foundation. And you might say anything you wish about Uhuru Kenyatta, but give it another 10 years. I think great leaders, like now we celebrate Kibaki after his death. We say, this is what Kibaki did. After 10 years, people will start comparing Ruto and Uhuru. They would wish Uhuru would come back again.
Do you think the government is capable of actually honoring these debt obligations?
We were told they are okay. In fact, by December, they said they will start paying in advance. I don't know what went wrong. Later on, they said, no, we're not able. We'll only pay a little interest. I don't know. Time will tell. The jury is still out on that. But other countries have defaulted. There's a possibility we would not wish to see our country default. And our colleagues in government, we wish them well. But the answer is not in overtaxing Kenyans, because there's only one level, a level to which you can tax your citizens. Then it becomes counterproductive. In fact, increasing taxes does not translate to increasing revenue. They're not meeting their targets because Kenyans are overtaxed. Investors are leaving this country, going to neighboring countries. We have a problem. They have to get to a point and just have a Damascus moment and see if they can stop. We can stop having this Zakayo, and we have Ruto back. But now he has transformed into a Zakayo who wants more and more taxes from everybody, even the little businesses. And now we're going to the farmers. I think the pinch is being felt more in the urban areas where the working class is. But when we take that pinch down to the farmer, that is when it's going to be felt.
The comparison that seems to be gaining traction is the comparison of the Ruto government with that of the Daniel Arap Moi government. But there's one similarity here that sometimes I think is looked at, discussed, but perhaps not given sufficient attention. And that is the influence of the Bretton Woods institutions and the demands they put on any government once they get their claws into your system and you start literally relying on them to help bail you. The terms on which they will then give you money and the stringent conditionalities, that is the word that came into being, that will be forced, not levied, forced upon you, are painful at the very, very least. One of the things that President Moi did, which was fairly brave, and Kibaki the same, at some point they said no to some of these things.
That's true.
And with the dire consequences. But, if you bring that into an economy like the one we have now, with the debts that were inherited and the debts that have since been added to, and then you put in the demands that these institutions put in, there is nothing they leave to chance. They tax anything and everything. What they insist that the country that they has sought the help, because we are the ones who seek that help. What they demand of you is almost inhuman, but that is what they do. This is not something that is rocket science. You just need to read about countries that these institutions have bailed out, and you look at the pain that these countries go through. So even as we blame the president and say he's putting on these measures, he is in bed with these institutions. And when these institutions get their claws in, it is an extremely painful process. Because everywhere we look, we're discussing this in an earlier hour, the government seems to have a problem meeting obligations internally. We're looking at schools, the promises that are made for capitation and funds that should go to schools. There's not a talk about delayed salaries, there's constant talk. Then there's this story of pending bills. It never seems to come to an end. So, if you simply look at these things and look at the frequency with which we're having these discussions, you can see that we actually do have a problem, and a genuine one. So when it comes to the obligations that are external, if internal obligations are a problem, what do you think about the external ones?
I think we have a situation, and I want to agree with you, because we say we are a sovereign nation.
Yes.
And we're independent and everything. But what is happening now when you hear IMF praising you, that you are their favorite customer or son, then there's a problem, because what you're saying is true. And Kibaki, there were times when he would draw the line. He wouldn't swallow all the conditionalities given. There were times when Uhuru had serious issues with the IMF lot, but he had some spine. There's a point to which he would say this and this we'll do, but this, no. Or this we can do later. But here we have a situation where we're swallowing everything, and it's also reflecting in our credentials, as being more of puppets of the West. And everything they throw at us, we say yes. We have this Haiti situation. We need 1,000, say yes. How much? Yes, we'll do it. We need this. There are issues that are also eroding our Pan-African credentials, which are impeccable, I can tell you, going back to the Jomo Kenyatta days. When you see roads like Makonnen Road, boys, these were people who actually were part of the Caribbean leadership in the days. They fought for independence, and as we speak, there are issues they have with the West, and in an economy like ours, we are not able to, pay CDF, and we are sending 1,000 of our young people into harm's way, into a territory that has defeated America and the others. But because of the American dollars, say, yes, we are willing to take that. So there are issues that we are saying. We are an IMF-run country. There must be a line we can draw. We can't swallow everything. We want GMO. We say yes. There are issues that
it points to some level of desperation.
Yes,
but then just like City has painted the picture, what would you do?
They say the beggar's knees are supple, but there's a point at which we can draw the line.
How do you draw the line, Mheshimiwa, when 70%, in some estimations, 78% of your revenue is going to paying back a debt? When you're only left with 12 bob to pay salaries, to send to counties, to do capitation and do all those other things, what do you do?
No, I'm saying that...
Because you're at a situation where all the debt, all the lavish borrowing and spending that was happening in the last 10 years is now maturing now. SGR maturity, Eurobond maturity. Coming in, another Eurobond will be maturing. So you have to pay and pay and pay. If you are the president, what would you do different with the kind of situation that you have? The kind of opportunities and potential that you have for raising internal revenues and the obligations that you have?
I think the answer does not lie in more and more taxes. Let's start from there.
Okay.
And all the experts who came to Bomas took us through. We had some international experts who gave us examples and scenarios in other countries that have overtaxed their citizenry to the level that the revenue started dropping, and the overtaxation does not translate into raising more and more revenues. I think that is one area that needs to be looked at, but also in terms of creating a conducive environment for investors. That is key, and what we are creating now is not conducive to the level where we are sending away and losing investors to other countries. That environment for investment is very, very important and key amongst the issues that are very precious to investors is the rule of law. Matters corruption and the sanctity of their titles and their investment. In a country where a former president's farm is raided in broad daylight, former prime minister's factories raided in broad daylight, then the president and the executive says we're not going to obey these court orders. We have the leader of majority, the legislative arm, also saying they're not going to. In this chaotic situation, we must just call everyone to order, get our country back together and working again. And these are some of the issues that we had very brilliant suggestions, and we are hoping. We also made our suggestions as Jubilee. If you look at that report, as Azimio, we made our recommendations on what needs to be done. And you could tell from the experts, whether they are from the government side or from the opposition side, we were able to agree on the issues, on what needs to be done. What is lacking is really the will
to get it done.
To get it done, starting with corruption, because we are losing a lot of this money through corruption, and of course the overspending. If that can be managed, and all those were some of the recommendations made, and that's why I said it's not that everything that's in that report is bad. There's some good recommendations, and we are hoping if those are carried, they can be able to help us get out of this hole. Yes.
About 8 minutes to the end of our conversation this morning, and I want to bring it back into politics and the sanity of our politics. You're a leader of a political party. We've said this before, even last year, that in the next 8 years or so, we are going to see a generational shift in the leadership of this country. We saw it in 2002 when some leaders that were there since independence left, and then it concluded with Mwai Kibaki leaving in 2012. And now we are seeing again, by 2032, those that have been in this generation of leadership will inevitably be exiting. And so we are looking into new crop of leaders. And those ones that have either been in the latter years of this generation, and those that will be new ones. Your party, the young new kid on the block, will be among those ones that, of course, are expected to be nurturing the new crop of leaders. Are you doing that?
Yes, we are, and we are preparing ourselves for 2027. When I took over the party leadership of my party, we also took over as a flag bearer in the next presidential elections that will be in August 2027. And we're in the process now of preparing our party for that election. We've started with grassroots recruitment drives across the country, and we'll culminate in the national elections. That after the grassroots elections, national elections, we'll have an NDC now to ratify this position. And from there, we will be able to roll out. I believe we are going to see changes in the leadership of this country.
You should be able to
And
sell
be
this
part of
party,
that change,
the
yes.
DAPK, as a national party that appeals to everybody and not a Western Kenya party,
Yes.
a Luhya party, right?
I think that is what I'm doing. If you look at the young people that we are working with, I know that some of them, like PK, have some issues, but we want to see more young people coming forward to participate in this national political discourse. So that you remember when we started this journey way back in 2012, we came up with a generational change agenda. We were then young ministers in the Kibaki government with President Uhuru, who was then Minister for Finance. Ruto was Minister for Agriculture, and I was Minister for Justice. And we urged young Kenyans to come up and say the Lancaster generation has done their part, and we must then have the post-Uhuru generation to come up and take their responsibility. In fact, we went around the country. Remember this time I took my two colleagues to Western Kenya, and in Bungoma were given 3 spears and the blessings of the Luhya elders. And Uhuru's spear was the first to enter under that generational change agenda. Ruto's spear is there. I'm preparing my spear. And one day that spear is going to get there. And when you come to State House, I'll show you this is the spear I was talking about that morning.
As you sell the party, though, Mheshimiwa, when you have members such as Peter Salasya, as members of your party, and those are the few MPs that are in politics, and then you see the public action of Peter Salasya and the public pushback on Peter Salasya's activities, but you don't hear anything from the party leader nationally or the leadership of the party, then questions are asked. Is this really a party that...
Yes. Should he not be called to order?
Yes, and we have called him actually as we speak. He's appearing before court tomorrow, and after that he'll be coming for a meeting with the party leadership. And he's a very popular young man, particularly with the young people. And he must be rash and with some anger management issues, but he one young leader that we want to mentor into a serious leader. He's a fearless leader who has fought for Mumias Sugar and for his people. But he needs to actually manage some of the issues that he's being blamed for. So these are matters that we want to take up to mentor him and other young people. And when you look at Salasya's story, it's a very compelling story of a young man who lost his father at a very early age from a very poor background. But he had a big dream. And he fought with nothing, bare hands, to win and become a member of parliament. So this issue that you must have so much money that is driving our young men into wash business, that for you to be elected an MP or a governor or a president in this country, you must pile up a war chest for you to be president. There are those who are challenging me when I talk about presidency. They're saying, but where will you get the billions? I was hearing them being said of Kalonzo also the other day. But we are saying, after this regime, Eric, the scandals that we're already feeling, there will be such serious scandals, and Kenyans at the end of the Kenya Kwanza regime would want a clean government. They would want the next leadership to be a leadership that is not corrupt, a leadership of integrity, a God-fearing leadership. And they will look at our records. I might say, well, I might not be the billionaire, but of all the ministries I've led, you will not find Wamalwa's name in a scandal somewhere, in multi-billion deal somewhere. But we want leadership of integrity. So this is one way that even the Kenyans themselves have to change. Because if those who have been in the scandals come to you with all the billions they have stolen, and they're the ones you put in leadership, how are you going to end corruption? If those who had cases have their cases dropped and immediately they are appointed, then you cry about corruption. How are we going to run our country when the corrupt are rewarded and given positions of leadership? Corruption will never end in this country. So we are looking at a time coming when Kenyans will say, we have had enough of this, we want clean leadership. And I believe when that day comes, Eugene Wamalwa will have the credentials to be considered for that office.
45 seconds, Mheshimiwa.
Yes.
Speak to William Ruto, the president.
William Ruto, you're my friend. I've seen you in Iten with your Kenya Kwanza team. What you're doing is wrong. Stop the assault on the judiciary. Stop the insult against the judges. Stop this intimidation. Follow the laid down procedure. Bring evidence of any judicial officer who is corrupt and let the law take its course. That is one advice I want to give him, and ask him not to let our country go back to the old and dark days. Thank you.
Asante sana. Eugene Wamalwa, party leader, the Democratic Action Party of Kenya, also a former cabinet secretary for defense, for devolution, for water, former minister for justice and constitutional affairs, has been our guest this morning. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Have a lovely day. See you again tomorrow. It's now 10 a.m.